You're up and it's still dark. Kick back with a cup of joe. You know you've got friends waiting on 1620 The Zone. It's Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Listen on the radio stream or YouTube or podcasts. Anytime it feels right. It's Happer and Schaefer.
All right, good morning and welcome in. Happy Thursday. It's Happer and Schaefer, as you could tell, on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, and Joey Colbert with you this morning, making our way through Super Bowl week. I have a goal. We're actually going to talk about the Super Bowl today.
Super goal?
In a non-football way.
Okay.
Tomorrow, I think we'll do the football stuff.
Yeah, that works.
Today, we'll talk about it in a non-football manner.
In a science manner, perhaps?
Maybe the electromagnetic stations will come up again.
I laughed way too hard when I saw that has become a thing again.
Also, I think we have to figure this out. People are very much not enjoying the Bay Area Super Bowl experience so far. So
it's a horrible experience.
All right, perfect. We'll talk about it a little bit later on and tell the NFL what they should do, because we love telling the NFL what they should do. We did a little bit of it yesterday, and we're going to do some more of it today. But welcome in Thursday here on this super duper week, as we are calling it. Today on the show, Brian Christopherson coming up at 8:30, Max Olson coming up at 9:15 as usual, and a special appearance from our dear friend, Michael Severe. He'd be listening anyway, so why not just call him?
Yeah, just give him a little call, chat him up, see what's going on.
Michael,
mine as well.
We thought of, we were the first, Michael was the first person that we thought of when we found out that Roger Craig is apparently going to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The names will come out today, but, we believe the reporting. Roger Craig's going to the Hall of Fame. So he said, let's call Michael.
We needed someone that would have a frame of reference that extends far further back than we would.
Further back and because his career obviously was less Husker and more NFL.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big distinction too.
Yeah, he's the right guy to talk to.
Yeah.
So Michael will join us at 8:00. Also, they announced Michael announced the banquet yesterday, the Jet Award banquet. So perfect opportunity for him to
gala.
That, which we will be at. And I'm excited. He texted me a couple weeks ago and he was like, hey, oh yeah, by the way, congrats on the new show. Also, we're coming in to do the interviews on the day where everybody comes in and does the interview, like the day of the Jet Award. I'm excited. The hour or whatever you need, it's yours. Fire away.
I am learning of many things in the last few seconds.
Bring whoever you want. It's in like first week of April.
Okay.
So we'll all be okay. So that is the lineup today, and we are excited to bring it to you. We want to hear from you all today, 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Hap and Schaefer, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer on Twitter. Email Connor, Mike, Joey at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers today. Baptism by Fire says, good morning, you sexy bastards. Maybe Baptism by Fire has just watched Austin Powers lately.
Could be.
That's something that Austin Powers would probably
say.
That
are just the portrait of us online evokes such a strong reaction that he could only think of Austin Powers.
I mean, look at us. We are very much on the screen right now. We look even more the same, I think, when you put us side by side, like Brady Bunch style, like this.
Not great for us here in that regard.
And like your AI graphic did last night, it made us look pretty similar.
Yeah, that I probably could have done more with that. I don't know.
No,
I'm happy with how
I think you take whatever the AI spits out at you.
It's certainly better than me attempting to do it. I know that much.
Elsewhere today on the show, we have a couple things from yesterday that we have to get to. I would like to take a bit of a temperature check on Nebraska football. Everybody's doing it this week, so I figured let's have us jump in on the action as well. Maybe we'll compare it to some previous temperatures of previous off seasons.
Can we get like the actual gauge? Can we lock in? So if things are cold, that means there's not interest, right? Hot would mean there is interest.
I think that's what we're going for.
Or if people are running hot, it means that they're unhappy.
No.
Okay.
No. I think it's an interest temperature.
Okay.
An interest related temperature. But you're right. I mean, there is also an anger.
I have noticed,
but I think the anger has led to disinterest.
It's fascinating because I wanted to characterize things as more apathetic, but I think there's a lot more just like under the surface, like I'm actually sick of this.
Well, I guess it doesn't have to be on a single.
It
doesn't have to be on a single temperature scale.
No.
You could wet bulb it. You could do whatever it is you like as far as the temperature is concerned.
Well, we can put it on a Y and an X axis.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's a scale and it meets up somewhere. Okay. So we'll discuss that a little bit later on in the show, and we'll compare it to some previous off seasons. Like we said, we will dive into how people are very much. Maybe we should call Mr. Desk and ask how people are enjoying the Bay Area Super Bowl. Which
let's see, what time is it right now? It's 4 a.m. out in his land.
Yeah,
and so
I mean, I don't even know if he'd be awake at 8 when we.
Probably not, but it doesn't mean we can't try.
That's probably a last segment thing.
Hello, is this Mr. Desk?
Yeah.
How is San Francisco?
Have you watched out for electrical current?
He's working on behalf of Westwood One, and they're tied in with the NFL. He'd probably play it cool. He's a company man.
He is a company man.
It might not be worth it at that point. We will also dive into. Oh, there were some stories that Pete Nakos dropped yesterday about things that happened in the NIL and the transfer portal. So we'll dive into that.
Pete Nakos.
Little Pete Nakos action. We haven't talked much about Pete Nakos on this show. Nebraska lost an assistant coach that we didn't even know about really yesterday. I mean, we knew about, but we didn't really get to know him in his last 3 weeks here. He's off to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll have that today. Did you see that Dayton Raiola is going to Oregon?
Oh, I saw.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you see what position he's playing?
I
saw. All right. And I want to check in with Kurt Signetti, who went on Urban Meyer's podcast. Urban Meyer and Mark Ingram and Rob Stone. And I think that's it. Those 3 guys. And he said something that is going to take the college football world by storm.
One of those individuals I would never need to hear discuss football.
Mark Ingram?
Ever again. Yeah. He's that bad. He's the Nick Stauskas of studio hosts for Fox.
In the clip that we're going to play during the show,
he talks.
He sort of steps on it a little bit.
Yeah, weird. Hard to imagine. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, though.
Oh, I absolutely do.
I didn't think that I was out on some island over here.
No, I definitely do. Yeah, but I just thought it was funny that it's like exactly what you're describing happened in the 30 seconds we're going to play.
It's literally like they saw, hey, we took a Heisman winner, Reggie Bush, and people seem to enjoy his commentary on stuff.
Let's just do it the same exact thing. All Heisman Trophy winners are the same.
Let's get a Heisman Trophy winning running back from a notable program and put him on TV.
Yeah, Sal writes in, he says Ingram just yells a lot. He does. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish, but yeah, we'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show. But as we said, we'd like to hear from you guys. This is our free-for-all segment, 402-951-1620. Here's Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Great.
So that was another terrible Jays game.
Very bad.
But Jake was playing with a heavy heart. I feel sorry for him, and I give him his condolence on losing his mother.
Right.
But so as I watched this team, you saw a little more Greer last night. The people on the team, do you see them there next year? I mean, obviously the seniors won't be there next year, but do you see them revamping the roster again?
Great question, Andrew. I've thought about it a lot, and thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Like, So yeah, we didn't mention it. Creighton, we were going to talk about it, just didn't make the sheet because it's always just at the top of mind for me. Creighton got beat relatively badly last night against Georgetown. And then we'll talk about some of the things that went into that here in a second. But to answer Andrew's question real quick, hard to tell because I don't know who the coach is going to be. I mean, I don't know, and so it might look different depending on that way. I think there will probably be an effort to keep a lot of the guys around and sort of reset the deck just in terms of a mentality thing. You're going to lose Graves and Dix no matter what. And then, people always call and ask about Freeman, and I don't know. I like maybe his best course of action is to be here again next year. Will Creighton want that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out from the roster.
And I mean, a bunch of guys who have had it's their first year at Creighton, and they've had pretty bad experiences so far. So how much does that affect what they want to do going forward? How much do they buy into hey, like if you stick around, they're gonna be okay? Because I believe that. Like I think they can make something out of this team. It's just it did not click. And then they need help, obviously, at like the point guard spot, and then a serviceable big, I think. So I feel bad because Andrew always calls in, he asks these important questions, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of see what happens. I wish I could.
Well, there's a big looming thing over this season,
of course.
So.
Yeah. And it's the topic that we've had on the rundown the last couple of days.
It ties into that.
Yeah.
Mine is more of a gauge of how people feel about it, knowing that you're pretty much on the precipice of it.
Which we'll see. We might talk about today. You never know. It's just been one of our all week topics, which we are apparently collecting at this point. But yeah, but before we take a break, if you heard it at all last night, word sort of spread throughout the day. Give John's post-game audio a listen. You could find that on the 1620 The Jays podcast feed. They did not have any player interviews last night, but they were joined up. John was joined up there by Coach McDermott, and who broke the news, I think, officially to everybody that Josh Dix's mom passed away yesterday morning, or late last night, or late 2 nights ago, I suppose. And Josh got a call early in the morning yesterday that his mom, who had been sick with cancer for a couple years now, had passed away. Josh himself has been under the weather this week, with just the bug that seemingly everybody has, and then obviously on top of all that, Creighton has not played very well, and the season's sort of gone off the tracks this year. And Saturday was the pink out day, where all of those sort of feelings and emotions kind of came up, and then to have that on that day while on the road. Max said last night that they had a plan. When I heard about the news yesterday, I couldn't believe that he was still there.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I could not believe
for him to
that
be
he
able
was
to,
still there
to do that.
I just thought he would have went home, or like immediately, and didn't do so, and stayed with the team because he wanted to stay with the team, and played, and really did the best he could to sort of just like hide it. And it's hard to tell with Josh because he is really a non-visibly emotional guy. He's just a stoic person, and that's how he is. He doesn't say much, and went through it last night. Didn't have a great night on the floor, obviously, for a variety of different reasons, including that one. But Max said they had a flight ready for him, like, hey, go and be with your family. And he said, no, I wanted to stay. And I think Max had a lot of these points this year, and he said it last night with John. He said, we had to talk about it. And he also talked a lot in the last week leading up to the Pinkout game about how he has never had a team who has been actually, firsthand affected by cancer the way that a couple guys on the team had. And Blake Harper's mom passed away a few years ago, and Josh Dix's mom, was in bad health. Obviously, they knew at the time, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna talk. We have to talk about this. We have to put this out on the table because these are our people. This is our family that is in this room, and we have to wrap our arms around this." And so I hope that when they come home on Saturday, and Max said this last night too, that people will be there and wrap their arms around Josh and Dick's family and all that stuff, because it's just, it was just everything all at once. When you have these type of seasons, and it was just, I couldn't believe that he went through all of that yesterday, to be out on the road and be away and all those different things. And then the team obviously feels for him too. They all love Josh Dix. Like, who wouldn't? And so a really, really, really bad day yesterday for the Creighton family.
Yeah, it's just a reminder you never know what's going on outside of what happens on the court, and life continually happens whether sports does or not. And so just a reminder of that, at just a tough thing to lose a parent.
Yep.
For sure.
So our thoughts are with them, and obviously the Creighton family, as they got back, probably just a few hours ago, and have to go back and somehow try to regroup and find a way to get a win this weekend against Seton Hall, or put their best foot forward in doing so. So our thoughts are with the Dix family and everybody and Josh as well. Let's take a quick break, and we will be back after this on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer, Joey Colbert with you Thursday on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Got a text from Benson Bunny Boy, or not a text, a tweet from Benson Bunny Boy before. Is it hard waking up early to do the show now? You know, I think, what is this show?
Show number 19.
19? Wow. Show 19.
Wow.
And for Schaefer's voice, show 18.
Yeah.
You know, 1 week from today will be our 1 month birthday.
Oh my God, we need to celebrate. We need to have a giant party.
We should have a party.
I will say, I keep telling people when they
Should we get
ask,
sliced bagels for our party?
please, because after day one we had just bagels,
Yeah.
unsliced bagels.
I want to see what life is like with sliced.
I'm not
bagels.
paying extra money for the slice.
Don't let Josh Odson plan the party.
Sorry, Josh. I mean, he was doing his best.
He really was.
He was doing his
He
best.
is.
We appreciate
The
it.
debate
him.
over whether it was 30 cents per bagel or just 30 cents overall. And then him just,
It's like, Josh, there's no way it costs 30 cents per bagel to
Right.
slice it. And he was like, that's what it said. He's like, and then at the end, where it's like, yeah, it was 30 cents. And he's like, well, sorry, you get what you get, which is a classic Josh reaction. But anyway,
the bagels were good.
people they were good and they're delicious as always. People always ask me, they see me out in public, they're like, how's waking up in the mornings now? You know, like wink, wink, like they want me to say, oh, it's horrible. So far, 19 shows, we're all right. We're starting to find a routine.
We're acclimated
Yeah.
to the morning.
I would say for the most part, I have like everything down the night before of how like I need to be prepared so
Yes.
that way I can get as much sleep as I can, still get up, shower, brush teeth, get what I want on, grab my stuff, be out of the house.
That
Like,
is
just
what,
so it's mechanical. You know,
Just
like
time
there's-
yourself.
you never need to have an extra thought as to what you're doing. Like
Mhm.
everything is mechanical.
that is
about
what
it.
I have found to be the most difficult part. Basically, the day just moves up. So everything you would have done in the morning before you leave the house now has to be done the night before.
You don't have any
Be-
time to do a single extra thing.
because you are operating, number one, in the dark for me, and number two, like, right, you have a very limited amount of time.
Yeah. Well, I had previously, because like other times, like, oh, I've got to get up in the morning. Well, if I just get up an hour earlier and then I'll just be able to knock out what I want to do.
Not an option.
Not at all an
Not the way you want to go.
particularly when you do things like stay up last night so I could watch Iowa, Washington.
Yeah, you are now a college basketball sicko.
Yeah,
This is exciting for me.
I should have texted you because I got like weirdly excited about Iowa, Washington at 10 o'clock last night. I
God,
was like, this is going to be a bad decision for the next day. But then the game was actually really entertaining. And I kept telling myself, okay, when we get to a certain point, we've got to turn this off. You know, like I got to get some sleep here. Made it to about 11:30. Iowa took a 10-point lead. And I was like, that's it.
I woke up
That's
to a
where we're
text
done.
from my friend who plays the city game.
Yeah.
Who was updating me on how he was doing on West Dodge Road.
Oh, man.
So
I told
it's
you
like, you're
off
up really
air.
late.
I told my brother about this game, and he is very excited now to
If you want to be,
into it.
if you want,
I almost bought it last night. It was cost $70 though.
No, I'm not paying.
if
that.
you want to
I'm
be
not
more
either.
realistic, you got to have a bunch of busted up roads in Omaha. If you're making Omaha, you gotta make it realistic by
wonder
having
if
construction
potholes-
everywhere.
Create
Is-
potholes and then tax
because
the.
on SimCity, traffic was a real issue. Like you,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
yeah.
you
There's
would hear
different
from
events
your
that happen.
constituents and
Yeah.
your inhabitants. that
Yeah,
they
they're
weren't
like, oh
happy.
no, something a weather event has happened and it has caused these systems in the town
A
to.
tornado.
Like
Yeah.
if you just stuck your stadium in the middle of town and you didn't have enough like traffic built out around
People
it,
would be pissed and they
upset.
would move away.
They'd be upset.
You have a whole bunch of 2-lane roads leading to the stadium.
Uh,
Not good.
a text from the 515. I am happily acclimated to the Connor and Mike show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just seamlessly ease into it. Are you acclimated though to Kurt Signetti being the best coach in college football? If you're not, get used to it.
I was gonna say, if you're acclimated to this show, you're probably used to us talking about Kurt Signetti.
So we are now in the stage where everything Kurt Signetti says will be like, you know, he'll say something and then we'll be like, ooh, is this a good idea? Because he has a little bit of a different approach to things
Mhm.
than some other coaches. So yesterday, or I don't actually know when this pod was, within the last couple days, Signetti went on it's a Fox produced broadcast because it's Urban Meyer and Rob Stone and Mark Ingram. I can't remember something, a huddle. I apologize. But
I think that's what it is.
I just wanted to give a proper credit, but it's those guys, and they had Signetti on, and Signetti, you may have heard this before, was talking about what they're able to achieve in their practices. So here is a clip that was going around yesterday.
We'll practice 13 times. I've never practiced 15 times in spring yet. I've never practiced 25 times in fall camp. But we'll get enough done in 13 days.
Is that right?
Yeah, never.
And an hour and a half on the field, you said earlier.
Well, yeah, now spring ball may go 150.
That's gonna get players there off that schedule. You keeping them fresh, you keeping them ready to go. Efficiency.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do, is keeping them fresh and healthy, because nobody has depth, and I've never had a team that had enough depth.
So I figured this would happen. Mike Schaefer is just distracted by the Mark Ingram part of that. Of the interview.
His voice comes in, and it's like legendary coach, probably
let him go
on his path to being a legendary coach. Guy who just needs to hear his own voice to say something that it just offered nothing.
But we got to the point, which was, and this is different. This is another thing, and I want to talk to Max about this later on. I mean, we could have our Signetti topic of the week with Max coming up at 9:15, and this week it's
Sigs with Max,
Sigs inside, whatever it might be, Sigs with Max, and this week it's like this guy. I mean, I think some of it is probably adapting to his team or having things the way he wants to have them. But we're talking about think about the reaction around here. Especially right now, speaking of the temperature, if people found out that Matt Rule wasn't using all of his 15 spring practices, and during those spring practices, they were on the field for less than 2 hours, and during the season, they were on the practice field for an hour and 20 minutes, and they weren't hitting, and there weren't pads or anything like. They were just getting. And maybe there are pads for like whatever it is, but the practices are short. Yeah. And Curt Signetti's whole thing is like, hey, we have to be able to get a lot of that stuff done. And he's right. A lot of the football practices that you would watch, if you go around the country and you watch these practices happen, you'll see that there's a lot of wasted movement. There's a lot of wasted time. And you also see that a lot of coaches are like, nope, we have to get this done. Rep it. 3-hour practices, and if it takes that long, it takes that long. We're out there, however long we're out there. And Signetti's like, no, we want to tighten it up. We want to keep you guys fresh. And we want to also not, sear it into your brain. I think so much. That's a piece of it too. I think people like this is another potential disruptor in college football, because coaches will see this and they'll start shaking their heads and they'll realize, oh no, like maybe I'm doing something wrong, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Frost or Rule, but one of them came in and basically said like, hey, like when we're out on the practice field, like it's got to be quick.
Uh-huh.
I think it was Rule. I think Frost was
Frost
similar.
was that way too, because he wanted to do the whole 4-station, 90s thing.
Right. And so I think this is a concept that's been in college football. Be efficient. Don't waste the extra time, especially with the rules they have in place of how much time they have anyways. This from Signetti is just taking it to the sort of extreme, which makes sense for him.
Yeah.
It's kind of what he does. And I like if you watched the video clip on YouTube, you would have saw this. There's like this coy smile that he has where it's like, yeah, I understand that Urban Meyer is in disbelief about what I'm doing.
I was waiting for Urban Meyer's reaction, because Urban Meyer is a part of the old school. Like, this is the way we do things because this is the way we've always done.
Scoffs.
Yeah. He was like, is this guy serious?
And
is
then
this guy really
just
saying
hits
this?
him with the and we just went 16-0.
Yeah.
And I'm at Indiana.
Which is, I mean, I don't know, which is probably what Saban thought of the guy while he was on his staff. Is like, is this guy serious right now? He wants to leave my staff to go be the head coach at IUP? Like, is he kidding me?
I would love to know what their interactions were actually like.
Oh my God.
There's something weird about everything with Saban and Cignetti, and I don't know. I want to know more about that.
There's no way they could have seen eye to eye.
Doesn't seem like it.
I don't.
Well, I know this much.
Him and Urban Meyer certainly wouldn't have.
Cignetti's golfing buddies and Saban's golfing buddies probably don't get along at all.
I don't know.
They're beefing somewhere on the turn.
You think Cignetti plays?
No.
I don't think so either. I
His-
think he's a robot.
The thing that I appreciate about him though is like he's sort of breaking every stereotype, and he's doing it in a we don't need to be here until 4 a.m. looking at film and turn around and be back here at 6 a.m. looking at film. We don't need to stand on the practice field so I can show off my coaching acumen. Like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go do it, and we're gonna do it better than you.
Yeah. A lot of new, young coaches, they first of all feel they have to prove themselves that way. And, it's coaches learn from other coaches, and you could be with a bunch of different staffs and a bunch of different people throughout your career, but a lot of them were sort of built the same way. And so I wonder if there's this like upcoming Cignetti school, right? Like the Cignetti
style,
the school of Cignetti or something like that. Which wouldn't be a bad thing, because like I said, I think it has an opportunity to be sort of this disruptor, which is, there's a lot of stuff in college football that just is the way it is because it's always been that way. And, like he's a disruptor in that way.
I think, though, that his set of circumstances are tough to replicate, in that one of the reasons that he is able to do this, he's had largely the same core pieces where they need to be. So it's like you're not introducing someone new to the mix who has a different set of ideas or a different way of doing things or doesn't understand how you do things. So because he has and brought that same large group from James Madison, like, he was able to just sort of seamlessly go into Indiana, immediately put his system into place, which is, again, why when people constantly, and this is one of the things about transition that annoys me.
Sorry, Schaefer, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when people complain, oh, he's bringing in his buddies, he's hiring guys he knows, like, some of that is when you're operating a system, you have to have the lieutenants that can do it exactly as you want. This idea of a staff of mercenaries can work for Urban Meyer after he has already sort of built everything else up. And then it becomes like, hey, I'm going to be Greg Schiano and go work for this guy. I'm going to be Larry Johnson Jr. or Larry Johnson Sr. and have already had a terrific career, but I'm going to go do it the Urban Meyer way. But you can get to that at some point. But for most people, if you're going to establish yourself and you have a system, and that's what Matt Rule brought with him, and that's what Mike Riley brought with him, that's what Scott Frost brought with him. Every stop of the way, hiring his buddies. And the only reason you're complaining about it is that it hasn't worked in results where you're happy with. He hired his buddies at Indiana, and they went 16-0. Maybe stop talking about that and think about why coaches do it.
He also brought, like you said, he brought a bunch of players over from James Madison, and it's not just like, the guys that he brought, and then the people that he brought in his first year at Indiana or going into his second year at Indiana when he won a national championship, that's by design, because you look at them and some of it is taught, and at a certain point you have enough guys on the roster or on your coaching staff where you have to acclimate to it or you don't. But like, the thing that always strikes me when they play is how they don't it's not flashy. They don't talk really.
It turns out to be flashy because they're just that much better.
Yeah. But why are they?
But because it's a simple level of flashy.
They execute and they win, and it's like it's just simple from that perspective. And
they put you in a box and then beat you.
Right. And that is by design from him, to your point. Yeah. Schaefer, they brought these guys over, and why did they bring them over? Because they had this sort of I don't know what the word is, but I guess maturity, to
an understanding of this is what we're going to do here. You're going to help show, this is a weird example because it didn't work under Scott Frost, but I remember it because of the value that he had, not because of what he was doing on the field, but getting everybody else organized for Travis Fisher. You remember Trey Neal?
Yeah.
Like that was very valuable to them. When I think about Rob Orich, I think about how having Dwayne McDougal and Owen Chambliss are going to be really important in terms of these are guys that are going to be starters. These are guys that are going to show you what it is that he wants in this defense. This is someone in Chambliss that can turn to Dawson Merritt and be like, hey, you're doing this. What we want in this situation is this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you get it from the coaches, but once the players are able to instruct it, and you hear this from every coach ever, when the players are instructing it to other players, it sinks in so much faster.
It's not only, I think, in what he has found with along the way, it's not only what you do, it's obviously how you do it as well. And so that's the challenge that every coach has to sort of grapple with. Like, how do you get them to act the way that you want them to act and take in the teaching that you want them to take in? It's like that's what he's figured out, and that is his edge. We always talk about this, like college football has always been about finding edges and stuff like that, and most people will look the same place that everybody else has looked: money, facilities,
court systems,
things like having the right judge in the right town, whatever it might be. Everybody always is looking in the same place, and he's like, and I think this is where like Fred Hoiberg comes into the conversation too. It's like, yes, we want guys who meet these athletic traits and stuff like that, but also, are you like, will they execute the things that we want them to execute in a timely manner? And how fast will that happen? And he's found like a roster full of them. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. And I think Fred has too. To bring that into the conversation as well. By the way, D'Lo writes in on YouTube, Frost had shorter practices, but for different reasons. Signetti he was a visionary.
On shorter tea.
Maybe Frost. Maybe Signetti doesn't happen without Frost.
The coach I remember having the longest practices, and this will work against where anybody wants it to go. Pelini's were just long, never ended. When the Keith Man email would be like, "Hey, this is when practice is supposed to be over." And then you'd be there for like an extra 45 to an hour before they would even be done.
I remember Riley's being like inconsistent. Sometimes they were really, sometimes they were a lot shorter.
His was day of the week. Some days of the week were going to be shorter. Some days of the week were going to be longer. I think Rule and Frost have been relatively similar. Like, I don't think they have particularly long practices at Nebraska because I think Rule has kind of talked about, like, we do so much in the meeting rooms and all of that, like,
So it's not, so the point here is it's not about how long your practices are.
It's about having your system in place that you're efficient and maximizing when you're out there doing it.
So Ingram and Urban Meyer were like, whoa, like, what are you doing? In some regard, like Ingram was like, you're going to get players just based off of that. People might look at it and say, oh, that's awesome. We're going to be fresh and we're going to have hour and a half practices. But that's not what he wants you to think when you see that. Like, if you're a prospective player and you see that and say, damn, this is awesome, we get really short practices, Curt Signetti is probably like, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You are missing the point here, my friend.
This hour and a half is going to be so packed with everything that it's going to feel like you went through a full practice.
It's just going to be a very mentally and physically stressful hour and a half.
It's going to put you in a situation that when you're not in practice, when you're in the game, it's going to feel different because of it.
Right. So he's a wave maker, that's for sure. And
wizard, one would say on a rundown sheet.
One would say on a rundown sheet. Some have said it. So anytime he talks this offseason, I'm just going to be listening. I just want to see what's inside of his brain.
And then Thursday, Sigs with Matt. Or with Max.
With Max. So that's coming up in just a couple hours. For now, we'll step aside and we'll be right back after this on 1620 The Zone. Plenty of online contests going on at 1620thezone.com right now. Concerts, if you're interested. Journey for the Final Frontier Tour, Thursday, April the 9th at PBA. George Thorogood and the Destroyers with Marshall Tucker Band at the Astro, May 17th. And Chris Stapleton in Lincoln for the All-American Roadshow Tour featuring Nikki Lane, October 7 at Pinnacle Bank Arena. You can enter to win tickets to each of those contests online right now, 1620thezone.com. Got a text here from the 515. Nebraska is known more for executing themselves. Backwards onside kicks, safeties on punt returns, taking 23-yard sacks instead of throwing the ball out of bounds. Not one, but two turnovers in the last 5 minutes to give away games that were all but over. Right-footed punt protection with the left-footed punter in the game. ... I assume there would have been about 4 more texts after that. But yes, there has been some stupidity.
That's a perfect.
Things have not completely gone to plan.
Yeah. Do you think shorter practices would have led to non-backwards onside kicks?
It could have. They could have had time to not work on it.
If they would have had a shorter practice, would Caleb Lightbourne have hit the ball off the tee instead of missing against Ohio State that one?
No,
time?
I don't. That one I think was unavoidable, no matter what happened. I don't know that shorter practices save you from Cam Taylor-Britt's safety on the punt return either.
I don't think so either.
There's just certain things that are inherent to just bad football IQ.
Hey, on the other side, like Nebraska's still, I don't know. Like, are the mental demons gone? I don't know that you could tell me that. They still do some horribly stupid things from time to time. Not that everybody is.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of college football,
I guess,
to an extent.
Yeah, everybody's vulnerable to that at some point.
Yeah, I there's areas where they're clearly better. Like, that is one of the things that you have to say. Like, they have hit multiple comebacks in the fourth quarter in a way that they didn't do for literal a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a ton of opportunity and hadn't done it. They've really reduced penalties for the most part. Now, they've had some that pop up at the worst possible time. Elijah Pritchett's penchant for false starting on a 4th and short or a 3rd and goal or what have you.
He was doing that.
That got better by the end of the season for him. So there's areas where there's improvement, at least. But there's also areas where they're a long way.
Like, wow, that looks the same as it always has. Yeah. We'll get back to Nebraska football coming up. We'll take we'll stick the thermometer underneath your tongue here in a couple minutes, talking about Nebraska football or wherever you put the thermometer.
Yeah, I was going to say that got scary at first and then it was fine. And then you made it scary again.
In your ear, in a different place.
Ear or oral thermometers seem like the best ones.
Yeah. No other thermometers are involved in this conversation. But a quick note and an announcement from Nebraska yesterday. So Nebraska is adding several scholarships over a 3-year time frame here. We'll talk about this for a couple minutes. So starting with next year and then phased over 3 years, Nebraska will add 78 new scholarships for 26-27, 48 of them women's scholarships, 30 for male student athletes. So that will give them 360 by the end or, by the start of next academic year. So 26-27. Then Nebraska, at the conclusion of the 3-year plan, so ending in 28-29, Nebraska will have the maximum number of allowable scholarships for women's sports. So 100% of the roster spots in women's sports will be scholarship spots. Now, that's just what they decide to have. Coaches get to decide what they get to have on their teams and things like that. But all the spots will be scholarship spots. At least this is how I read into it. And then 80% of the men's spots on Nebraska Athletic Department roster spots will be scholarship spots as well. That number at the end of at the start of the 28-29 academic calendar will be 433 scholarships, which is quite if you think about it, you go back, some of the roster spots at the NCAA, when this whole thing got the deck got reset a couple of years ago, some of these are just completely unnecessary. Do you really need 18 volleyball scholarships? Like, no. Like, so Danny Best from Kelly is probably going to be like, no, we don't need that many people on our team. But whatever they do have will be completely funded by the athletic department. Maybe volleyball is a bad example because of the success that it's had, but we're talking about, what is it, 34 baseball spots?
Which I
would imagine that they won't fund all
right.
of those, but
Bruns has kind of already said that, or not. I mean, Bruns has said that Bolt has basically already said they wouldn't fund all of those.
They wouldn't. There would be no need to have 34 scholarship baseball players.
Too many.
Yeah, it certainly is. But keep in mind, they were dealing with 11.7 scholarships up until a couple of years ago to sort of mix around and stuff like that. It is quite the investment from Nebraska, and I would imagine that there aren't very many athletic departments nationwide that are going to have that percentage of roster numbers that are fully scholarshiped inside of their athletic department. It is. I mean, it's quite the infrastructure to have.
Yeah,
it just adds to the equation of the position that the student athletes are in at Nebraska.
It again just sort of shows that Nebraska is walking the walk after talking the talk about wanting to be good in athletics across the board. I mean, if you're going to support every sport, and they are, this is the easiest way you do it, besides the facilities, besides everything else.
Which they have,
funding the scholarships and giving your coaches access to, like, hey, you don't have to worry about this in a way that you used to before because we're going to make it matter financially. This is probably a smart move to continue to have success. I mean, and it's harder to see because the football picture has been so uneven, but Nebraska is on a really nice upswing.
Just athletic department wide, yes.
Yeah, and it's not just, like,
most
the
of their
basketball
teams are really
well.
good.
And it's like, yeah, well, the women's basketball team is doing really well. The wrestling team is doing really well. Track and field has always done really well.
And this is despite football being horrible.
And it's like that clouds the picture. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I've never been someone who cares about the Directors Cup, but Nebraska, which started under Trev Alberts, who I know you're not supposed to give credit to for things.
I'm in on Trev.
Yeah, well,
Trev's cool.
I think we're kind of in the minority there in some ways, but he left Nebraska in so much of a better spot than book writing Bill Moose. I mean,
nice,
so much of a better spot,
Mr. Book.
I am so uninterested in that, and I know when it comes out, we're gonna have to spend time on it.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
you
happens.
and I might not have to.
Yeah, we'll see.
The Nebraska at large will spend time on it, and it's just like what Trev Alberts did. And even though he left and he went somewhere, and people aren't happy about that because he's supposed to be a Nebraska guy and yada yada yada, what he left was so much better than what he inherited.
It's a really good place to start
where
from.
Troy Dannon is able to take things is a really, really good spot. The health of the athletic department. And I have issues with things that go on over there, but it's not from a lack of their investment.
It's amazing.
In the totality of that athletic department.
So you could, and you hear this occasionally, like you could make the case like where are they getting all of this money? How like they are spending, but they're putting it all into resource. Like it doesn't seem frivolous to me what they're doing.
They're part of their television deal alone, what they're allotted out of the Big Ten gives them a mass amount of money. Their football program makes money. Their volleyball program is profitable, so they're not losing money there. Their basketball program is likely going to be very close, if not profitable, to being profitable. And it probably actually has been because of the attendance that's over there.
And remember, you did not get a trophy for having the most money in your savings account.
Right.
Nebraska has felt like they should have earned that at points over the last couple decades and done nothing with it other than try to get the trophy for most money in savings account.
And another thing that Trev Alberts did when he came in is he got rid of a lot of the waste and spending. he cut things to the bone and then built it back up as he wanted it to be spent.
And Dannon's adding back, I think, a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. And here's the thing. None of it affects their ability with the 20.5. Like they're gonna have that. So like if you're someone listening to this, you're like, well, I'd rather that money go to football. Well, I mean, it can't go to the players.
Right.
They already have a pristine facility. What we're talking about and what Sam mentioned the other day is the next vestige of this is that stadium, which is to me such almost a sinking ship. I have no idea what they're going to do there.
I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't
know how they're going. I don't know where they're going.
Fascinated by how it's supposed to happen because to me it seems like you can't play there while it's going on. You certainly can't ask people to donate if they're being disrupted while their experience. And then on top of it, the team hasn't been good.
I think they have enough money to say, okay, we can start this project, but that's a very different thing than being able to pay for the entire thing. Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I guess there's going to be an empty Arrowhead Stadium. Just play your home games there. Nobody's going to like that.
Very, very, very odd. So yeah, that's the next thing.
You're landlocked, so you can't just build a new stadium.
I don't know. That's not going to be in the cards.
Yeah.
I don't
so it's just that is like the thing that nobody wants to talk about because nobody has an answer for it.
Well, we'll see.
It also might be why Trev Albert's a little small portion.
And by the way,
in College Station.
The plan that Dannon is about to present to the Board of Regents is bigger than Trev's.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of has to be.
So
this is
watch out.
It's going to be fascinating how they do this.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and stick the proverbial thermometer in your ear. Coming up on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Thursday on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Glenn writes in on Twitter, did any local bubble teams play a basketball game last night? I don't know of any local bubble teams.
Well, Iowa played last night.
They're not a bubble team.
I don't think we have any
They're
local
in.
bubble teams, do we?
I don't think there's any bubble teams
No.
that are local.
There's some teams that are in. There's some teams that are out. There's some teams that, I mean, that's it. That's all.
Try
that's
to
all we
think of
got.
like how far you would have to expand geographically to touch a bubble team right now.
Great question.
Minnesota's not a bubble team. Kansas is not a bubble team.
Let's go to my bracket matrix bubble.
Oklahoma
Missouri.
Are they?
And Missouri is getting some.
That's probably the closest.
Missouri has to be the most local bubble team.
I can't
that
think
we
of
have.
any. Like Colorado's not good. Minnesota's not good enough, though they had a big win last night.
Technically, Miami of Ohio is a bubble team,
Yeah, but that's
even though they're undefeated.
that close.
Not very
they're-
close.
They're 10 hours away.
Not very close. Wisconsin.
They're not. They're. I think they're safely
They're
in.
kind of. They're mostly in.
Yeah.
At this point,
I-
Indiana.
the Big Ten is going to get a lot of teams.
They are, and then probably not win anything in the NCAA tournament.
Like they always
Is that
do.
the new one? They're definitely going to win the NCAA
Yeah.
tournament.
The Big Ten will definitely have success in the NCAA tournament this year.
It's good. I'd rather you do that one than the than the other one that you like to so fondly do.
Yeah, I think our nearest bubble team is Missouri. I wouldn't call them local. I certainly wouldn't want them to be local.
Yeah, I don't want to spend any time covering Missouri.
Glenn says, okay, that's what I was thinking too. Thanks. Yep. I don't know if Missouri played last night or not. I couldn't tell you. Because I don't know what we're referring to, but maybe it's Creighton. Not a bubble team.
Yeah,
Things change. Much like uncertain times during COVID and things like that, things change. So one day they're a bubble team, and the next day they lose by 30 to Marquette. They're not.
you can always just use the word fluid, and people hate it.
Yes.
and
Thank
just
you,
go with
Jonathan
that.
Smith. Fluidity. Indeed.
Yeah.
Fluidity. All right. Temperature time. I heard, by the way, the temperature for us weather-wise is supposed to be pretty good for like the next 7-10 days here.
Yeah,
We're looking nice.
I might
give me some
use,
outside time today.
I might use this time to go get a car wash.
Oh, it's going to be big
Yeah.
car wash time. Big
It
car
needs-
wash
You're
it
gonna
time.
needs a cleaning.
you're gonna be fighting crowds.
Yeah, you better go right
I
when you
would
get done with the
I would
show.
have multiple podcasts or something ready to go if that's what you listen to in the car because you're gonna be sitting in the line.
That's fine with me.
because you can't really get much AM radio in the car wash. They're going to have to turn on the app or something like that. But anyway, we're looking good weather-wise. I want to know from you all. 402-951-1620. I started this thought by sort of thinking about what the vibe is right now. And I was thinking about previous off seasons, and we're talking about Nebraska football here. And I tried to compare where I feel like we're at right now to any other previous offseason. And I couldn't really come up with a one-to-one answer. I don't think there is as much vitriol, as much of this kind of weird emotional type of, back and forth as there was leading into 2022.
That is the closest comparison because if you just go back,
but I don't think there's as much anger is maybe not the right word, but just during the Frost era, everything was too emotional. Everything was very personal during the Frost era.
I almost wonder if 2013 into 14 is maybe the closest comparison.
It's a name that it's a year that came up but the thing that obviously stops you is the fact that the bar was
sure,
in
but
a different place.
The bar has less to do with it than where sort of the fan base mentally was at with things too. And there was definitely an apathetic nature, though what I would counteract myself with, and you may not remember this, there was genuine enthusiasm after Nebraska beat Georgia in that bowl, which kind of kickstarted, and then Nebraska had...
I remember being excited going into 14 in general.
Nebraska had 4 commitments right away from Eric Lee, Avery Anderson, Christian Gaylord, and Kendall Bussey.
Wow.
On
Schaefer.
February 1st of 2014.
Great job.
Which just got people fired up. You had the Davis twins were being recruited that year. Like there was just I don't even know that this really works in that regard. Now you could push back and be like, well, they have their 2027 guys that, Trey Taylor and Tay Ellis and Amir Brown.
Close.
It's not the same thing. And incidentally, none of those original 4 players really went on to have much of a career at Nebraska.
Here's one that crossed my mind.
Kendall Bussey never made it.
If you could retransport yourself back to after 2019. After 2019 leading into 2020. Now, this is pre-COVID. COVID obviously, ruined everything.
Yeah.
But after 2019, I remember being sort of like, after the Iowa game, I remember being just exhausted about the entire thing. Now, people are not as willing to give Rule the leash that they did Frost after 19, but I just recall being like, all right, we need to step away. Football is maybe not what we need to talk about right now. And
let's look in at Fred Hoiberg's basketball team.
They were horrific during that. They were also not a bubble team. That was
the first year of it.
They were definitely not a bubble team. And so
from the start,
Rule has less fan base leash than Frost ever did. I don't think it compares to any Riley year. And not, aside from the one that you mentioned, not really any Bo years either. Yeah. So if you were to put like a descriptor on it, where is the fan base right now in terms of temperature? And I think we fall short of generally. Everybody's a little different. I think we fall short of like anger.
Yeah.
And it lends more toward like, look, man, you just have to get things. You have to find a way to get things done in the field, and you have to do it very, very, very soon. And then there is the added like, well, I wish you had a chance to do that, but the schedule is so difficult this year, so I don't know about their actual chances to do so. And then this last month has been, I don't know if it's negative news, but it's been perceived that way,
right? Yeah,
because of the way that people feel like this season is going to go. So it's odd. And keep in mind, it is February, and there are still several months left in the offseason to make that temperature rise as it will.
Like once they start spring football, there's going to be a groundswell of interest in what they are and what's different, and Rob Arch's system and the different players, and Tony Calandria and all of
Tony.
That. So there's that's coming. Like that's going to happen. What is a little bit more interesting is kind of almost, I don't know if resentment's the right word, but there's like I don't need to hear from you right now kind of thing, as it relates to anything football wise, but especially anything Matt Rule sort of saying.
Yeah. I can't really recall that.
There's always an interest in what the head football coach is saying, no matter what, until now, where it's like, well, you said so much and it hasn't really been accurate. And it's different than Frost, who, like,
I'll tell you what I don't want right now. I don't want anyone to try, and I think this is where people get frustrated. I don't need anybody trying to convince me that something is going right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I get it. I understand that that's their point of view. And I think in a lot of, in the situation as a whole, they're probably right. Like their culture is better. The bar is higher, like all those different things, but I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to be nailed over the head with the hammer on that over and over and over again. I don't want to be told anymore that we're on the right path. We're on the right path. And that's not because it's not really happening. That's just because I don't want to hear it anymore. Like I just want to see the football be good.
Yeah, I totally understand that as someone who's felt like Nebraska has underachieved the last 2 years. it's difficult because I think I can look at things and see like, here's why it could go well. But then you have to weigh that up against like, they haven't done this in years where it could have also went well. So at what
they've had
point,
opportunities,
like at what point is this more emblematic of who you are? And we have to accept that, or is there actually a breaking point or a breakthrough point? I mean, those are the two things. I don't think there's a breaking point in 2026. Like, I think they're going to be another close to 500 to marginally over 500 team. And
just how long can you stay on the fence?
Well, and I don't think Matt Rule is going to go anywhere. So then, that I think leads to this sort of like, this season feels like it's already over before it started because I've watched this movie before.
You're right.
And that's where that, like, it's hard to gauge what that temperature is because there's a resentment wasn't the word I wanted. Resignation to what the results could be. A lot of RES words in there, but there's like a resignation as to this thing. And like even getting even the change at quarterback, you're like, oh, this could look different, but do I trust that Dana Holgorsen can actually go and build this offense in 2026 when I haven't seen it most of 2025?
They would have to do something that would surprise people in a positive way.
Right. And so
that has not yet happened. I don't even think once. Has there been like one instance in an individual game of them like winning a game that they weren't supposed to win?
I mean, they surprised everyone with how they played in the horseshoe. They surprised everyone in 23 with how good their defense was. They basically 24 kind of middled out the most medium result imaginable. So some of it is that there's pieces in there. There's reasons why I think, okay, they could be better again in 26 than what people might think right now. And then there's also like, well, why do I think that they're going to achieve what they couldn't when I thought the roster was better the previous 2 years? That's the toughest part for me is that I don't look at this as you just going like on the offensive side. I don't feel great about anything they have going offensively. And I've already sat here, whether it was as a guest co-host prior to being in this chair for the full time or whatever else, and talk to you about why I'm legitimately worried that football has just passed Dana Holgorsen by in 2026. But that offense sucked. Full stop. Not good. And you no longer have a running back in Emmett Johnson that's going to be a part of it. And people might not have liked Dylan Raiola, but I'm really hard-pressed to believe that Tony Calandria is going to be better than Dylan Raiola. Different, more combustible, which could be good, could also be, I mean, you could see Nebraska go back to the days of having a minus 15 turnover differential.
Fun!
If you don't take the ball away, which they didn't at all last year.
No.
So it's
I'm definitely more worried about the offense than the defense. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. Like the defense, I'm like, okay, it's probably just going to end up being like 23. This guy comes in. He's great. He gets it to go right away. And they're stuck with a bad offense that can't stay out of its own way. Like that's my, like, this is how it goes bad. Now, if the defense is good, the offense is at least okay. They figure out how to stay in games. And then you have some fourth quarter magic. Calandria makes some big plays down the stretch and minimizes his mistakes. You can paint that picture, but it's still hard for me to get past 7 wins.
I know.
Like that's the, there's a way that this all plays out where they actually have a kind of a fun up and down season, but it still ends at 7 wins. So you don't feel any different.
Mustache Adam writes in, he says also, he says, shut up in football, quote, the fan base. Also, Frost wasn't as media online as Rule has been, so there wasn't fatigue for him like there is.
No,
with
but
Rule.
Frost basically had people who were media online for him, that spoke for him, that talked about him all the time.
Oh, yeah, and Frost always referenced what he would always say, like, hey, I don't read your guys' stuff, but here's what you're talking about.
My right arm extension of myself reads everything and calls everyone in the media all the time.
Exactly.
And has talking points on speed dial for them.
So he was just mostly a liar.
He had it plausible deniability, I guess, would be better than rules. But He was very aware of what was being said at all times
Yeah.
and had people talking on his behalf at all times.
Right.
So,
I do feel like Rule, like, it's more of a, I think they're both a little contrarian, but I feel like Rule is maybe a little more so. And that's a big part of what bothers me about.
That's a really fascinating. I almost think Frost is more contrarian, but he's less convicted to it than Rule would be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'm seeing where you're going there.
I don't know if that's going to make sense to people who haven't been around him, but like that's how I would describe that. Like I think Rule is way more convicted in everything he does than Scott Frost was.
Yeah.
In almost every, and right or wrong, in almost every.
Would it be better for him if he wasn't as?
There's areas where it'd be like if you were a little less convicted in this, or
if you were less dead set on proving
you
people
brought the
wrong.
dial back here.
Yeah,
it could look better for you in the long run.
Preferably, they would both just pay attention less to what people are saying.
Yeah, well, there's that aspect of it. Preferably, they would both be better on Saturdays in some regards of what they are.
Right.
Yeah, as far as the time, I'm like still filibustering because I haven't given you an answer on the temperature. Is it weird if it's like almost like dead 50%?
Yeah, I think people are on the fence.
I think that's kind of where we're at.
There are some that have fallen off one way.
The people that aren't on the fence are mad. Like there's
correct.
If
there is a picture of 2 yards and a fence in the middle. There's the most people are on the fence.
Yeah.
And then there's a bunch of people that are in the angry yard.
Yeah.
And then there's basically nobody who's in the blissful.
I wouldn't say nobody. I think there's a couple people that are wandering around over there, but we don't know why they're over there.
There's like a bunch of rainbows and flowers and stuff like that over there. And they're like, la, la, la,
or they're
la,
just
la.
contrarians themselves.
That's possible.
But
there's a couple people over there, but not very many.
Again, I think the resignation is maybe the toughest part of all of this, is that you could go through another season, not feel like you're any closer to this breakthrough, have things go well for you. Like, again, that's the difficult part. Like, you had an All-American running back. You had that. You have these playmakers on offense, and yet your offense felt like it was harder to watch in some ways than when you had Heinrich Harburg and Jeff Sims trading off and Chubba Purdy trading off at quarterback in 23, where you're like, well, I know we're limited. Here, you shouldn't have been limited, and yet at the same time, you scored 22 points a game against Power 4 opponents.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good.
And it's funny because you're going to laugh at this, because if I'm still on the fence, which I am, I think there's a way where they could, figure something out here. Like, my reason for being on it still is I am excited to see the offense in a way without Dylan Raiola. And you predictably laughed at it.
I mean, I laughed because, like, I'm either going to be 1,000% correct or 1,000,000% wrong.
No,
like,
I think they're going to turn the ball over. They're going to turn the ball over a ton, I think.
But I don't even mean that in like a hooray for me sense. It's just like I have positioned myself with Nebraska's offense in which there is no middle ground. And I'm actually, which is not something I do very often when I have opinions, but I feel that strongly that Dana Holgorsen is that broken, that the move that I most wanted to see them make was to find a different offense to go forward with, and they didn't do it.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't. I
and everyone else was somewhere else with it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I truly think that they are going to be problematic offensively yet again.
They may be problematic offensively.
I do like that they at least looked at it and they're like, hey, we've got to do something. Let's build with our offensive line. Because if nothing else, if you improve there, things can be better in the margins that maybe allow, like, maybe they're not going to be explosive, but they can better play the style that Matt Rule actually wants, which is defensive-oriented football team that wins games 23-17.
You raise the floor, that's for sure.
So if nothing else, I could be right about their offense not being good, and still Nebraska gets to 7 or 8 wins in this schedule.
And Bigley writes in on YouTube, he says there is a 69% chance that Rule won't make it to November 9th. No, there is not.
0%.
I know what M. Bigley was trying to get us to do, which is say 69 and nice, which we're happy to, but he is not getting fired.
Yeah. No.
0.
He will be coaching Nebraska in 2027. You can put that on the whiteboard.
Ooh, we'll put it right next to Nebraska is going to make the NCAA tournament.
And
it seems like a
I
real
will
milk
never
toast prediction.
run out of gas in my car.
That was you. Yep. That was in response to my I will never lose my wallet ever.
Yeah.
Still true, by the way. All right, we'll take your thoughts 402-951-1620 on the temperature and things of that nature. Still plenty to come. Michael Severe is going to join us at 8 o'clock. Brian Christopherson at 8:30. Max Olson at 9:50.
Severe text me because, of course, he's listening. And
hello, Michael.
He informed me we can ask him about this. He washes his car every day.
Okay, what a topic. Wow. What a topic. I cannot wait to ask him about this in just a little over 30 minutes. Back after this on 1620 The Zone. Did you happen to see Michigan State's Jeremy Fears in his antics last night? He was tripping people. He was kicking people.
Yeah.
This is a take by the Nebraska basketball fan base that has aged terrifically. The whole Frager finger guns thing and that whole dust up. Veers is a not likable figure in Big Ten basketball.
I believe Izzo said something like Jeremy needs to grow up.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know if I'm going to start him anymore. He's very immature. He was asked. Izzo was asked last night by Chris Solari, who's been on this show, on other shows before. Immaturity. Here's what's wrong with him and people labeling him as dirty. Immaturity. If he plays that way, he deserves it, and he ain't going to play that way if I bench him the next game. I've had it with that. That's not what I teach. That's not what I coach. That is Tom Izzo on Michigan State's Jeremy Fears. Okay, let's talk about the Super Bowl. So here's what I've noticed coming out this week. First of all, we are not talking a lot about the game right now, and I think that's pretty normal for the week of the Super Bowl, unless there's like a big, football-based narrative or like a big quarterback battle or something like that. But usually, I think it has been easier to come up with outside of like actual football storylines. There has been a little bit of a dearth of those as well. And so most of what I hear coming out of the Super Bowl this week has been how everyone hates San Francisco. Everyone hates the Bay Area. They don't like.
They're not even
there.
in San Francisco.
Correct. They are in the area.
They're not even in like the best part of where the Bay Area is. That's the problem with like how it's set up over there.
They're in the buffer zone south between Oakland and San Francisco. That's how I would call it.
Yeah. So there's like there's stuff that is happening in San Jose. There's stuff that has happened, obviously, up near the stadium. And then there is San Francisco, which is the most touristy sort of spot thing, places to go and tourist destinations to see and things like that, which is very difficult to get to for the people who are covering the Super Bowl. And so most of the conversation has been everything is so far apart. San Francisco is a terrible host, or the Bay Area, whatever, is a terrible host. All the touristy spots are in San Francisco, or they're even further. You go to it's mustard seed time in wine country right now. All the foliage is yellow. That's what I got an email a couple days ago. Yeah, because I just recently visited
mustard
Napa.
Season.
It's everything's yellow. So, and then I usually like when the Super Bowl feels like this image of the town that it's in from like a cultural standpoint, like whether it be the colors or the things that are going, like New Orleans, when the Super Bowl is in New Orleans. Tampa, I think you have a pretty good idea when like all these other places. I don't know what the cultural image of San Francisco is / that area. It might just be nothing. I don't know what it is. And so there's nothing to steer into from that regard. So my question is this. What do we do if you are running it, if you are running the Super Bowl, if you are Roger Goodell, what do we do with the rotation for this game on a year in, year out basis? Because now this stadium in particular has gotten Super Bowl 60 and 50. Will they be going back? I don't know, but they're kind of, in the mix. There is all of these new stadiums that are opening across the league that are probably due to get one. What do you do? Do you stick with the rotation? Do you put it in New Orleans every year? Like, how do you mess with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you find like a set of places that you would like it to be in. I mean, here's the issue I have though. I like when it rotates because I like it being in different places.
Me too.
And yet at the same time, as someone who wanted it to be in an outdoor stadium up north, nobody enjoyed when they played at the Meadowlands.
They did not.
Some of it is the way that football stadiums function, though. Like the Meadowlands is not near anything. Part of why it's magical when it's in New Orleans, the Superdome is right there in the heart of downtown.
Agreed.
In the city. With
And most football stadiums that are going up nowadays, like they are not in the
they're
city
in
centers.
Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
They're the
Exactly.
Gare Bears. So
The
it's
Chiefs
a
are going to
different-
build one in Overland
Right.
Park,
So
The
it's
Kansas
not
Chiefs.
quite what it used to be. And so I think because of that, you get these things like they're in San Francisco when they're not at all. Like if you put that park where they have, I don't even know what they call it. It used to be AT&T. Is it still AT&T?
Oracle.
Which is the best baseball stadium I've ever been to. But if you put that park there, you get all of downtown San Francisco to operate off of, which would be very expensive and probably why it doesn't exist, but it would be amazing if you were visiting for that.
Great point. Maybe that's the key to all this. Have
It
a
needs
football
to be in,
stadium
like, the
downtown.
hub of where you're going to go.
Hard to
And
do
so-
with new stadiums
Right.
because there's just no, you have to clear out all that real estate to do
Right.
it.
or
But-
you have to build it on the location that it was already at previously.
Exactly.
And then there's just some areas that make sense. Like the Super Bowl in Miami makes sense to me. The Super Bowl in, it's Glendale, I think, but in Phoenix makes sense to me.
And that one's far away from
Yeah.
everything, but that one seems to work for whatever reason.
I think people have just accepted, and if you've spent any time in Phoenix, you know what I'm talking about. Like you just got to drive places.
Yeah.
Like that's just, and they have an area
It's a
built up around it.
giant
sort of.
widespread city. Yes.
You're not like in downtown Phoenix, but they have an area out there that sort of works.
Yeah,
and
the
operates.
whatever I always forget what it's called. Legends or Legacy, whatever it is. There's all those
the
outdoor
hockey
shops.
arena is over right by that.
And
too,
then, of
once
course,
you
the
have-
hockey team moved.
which I did get a free suite by going to a hockey game there one time. That was pretty amazing.
A free suite?
Yeah, so they didn't have anyone using their suites, and we needed tickets. And this guy who worked for the Coyotes saw that I was trying to get tickets, and I was with a group of guys. He's like, "Are you guys from out of state?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'll give you a tip. Go around the corner. You're going to see somebody who has a bow tie on. Tell them you're looking for 4 tickets, and they'll get you in a suite." So we got in a suite, and it was $1 beer, $1 dog night. It was the greatest experience I've ever had in terms of scalping. Didn't pay $1 to get in. Paid $1 for beer the rest of the night.
It literally couldn't go any better.
No, it couldn't.
Yeah.
And we were in a suite, and it was just us in the suite.
That is
Man.
unbelievable.
And there's nobody in this. Like they just wanted people there.
That's the hospitality you get in Phoenix.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I'm Team Phoenix.
that's why
will
they don't have
forever
NHL.
say good things about the Phoenix Coyotes, which do not exist.
I'm pro Phoenix. Ryan Delaware says Las Vegas needs to be the permanent destination of the Super Bowl.
I don't want a permanent.
I don't want a
destination.
permanent destination
The
either,
rotation's good.
but I'm fine with Vegas being in the rotation.
So Phoenix, Vegas, Miami. You're good with Miami.
I am
assume?
good with Miami. New Orleans.
New Orleans. Do we put Tampa in there?
And then like a rotating
I
fifth.
like when it's at Tampa because I like the way it looks on the field. Does
Yeah.
that might be the dumbest statement I've ever said out loud, but I not to be Matt Rule grass guy.
It's
over
in Florida,
here, but
grass. Yeah.
It looks good when it's there, and so I do appreciate that.
So by the way, we're going next year. We're at SoFi.
which is fine.
And
Nobody
then,
likes SoFi Stadium because it's not really in LA either.
And then in 2 years, we are in Atlanta, which is
I think Atlanta's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good
Atlanta
location.
will be a good one because it has hosted obviously
Now,
major events before.
People might take some issue with just Atlanta as a city. Not everybody likes Atlanta.
Some people who might be joining the show soon.
Or
So there's
8
a-
a.m. guests may not love
There's a
Atlanta.
couple cities that build domes like Indianapolis and Minneapolis, and they had the ambition of hosting multiple Super Bowls, but they only got one. And then you got a couple more teams. You got the Broncos trying to build an indoor stadium. The Titans are almost completed with their indoor
They'll
stadium.
get one.
I think
Nashville
Nashville will
would
get a
be-
bunch of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a popular.
See, I don't know how this one, Levi's Stadium, where they're about to play, I don't know how they got 50 and 60. You know,
Because it's a historic NFL franchise in an area that is massively populated.
but it feels like they're never going back. Just with all of the reaction to it this week, are they going back there? I don't know.
I would be okay if they didn't.
Me too.
Like I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the Super Bowl site because my team isn't going to play in the Super Bowl. I've made peace with that. And then B, if
Your
they-
team did host one though.
Yeah, if they did play in a Super Bowl, I don't have the kind of Skrilla to go to the Super Bowl. So what is it to me anyway?
Well, maybe you could end up on Radio Row one day.
Is Dallas a location that they should play? Houston, they play the Super Bowl at occasionally. Houston is not a city I want to visit for sporting events.
Dallas got one.
Yeah, they only got one in that
And
2010 game.
20, yeah, the 20
Packers famously won.
Exactly.
Didn't even have brought it up.
You shouldn't have. You set Joey off. People forget the Packers won the Super Bowl.
I didn't.
That was in Dallas.
And the rest was history.
I don't know, like, how does a place like that not get a second one, and we have to go back to this place for a second time?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, and is it worth it to build a stadium just to get
Jerry
one
Jones
Super Bowl?
Jerry Jones might be like, I don't need the Super Bowl. It prevents me from having other stuff here.
But is it worth it to build a whole new stadium just to get one Super Bowl?
Probably not.
Like, Tennessee is going to get one, and
they might end up with multiple because people love Nashville.
Yeah, it's a very popular
the
spot.
Chiefs are probably going to get one.
Kansas City is going to get a Super Bowl.
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
I bet they do. I bet Kansas City gets a Super Bowl. They
People
got the
are not gonna-
draft. They're going to get the
know.
Super Bowl.
They're not
I
going to
think
like
they got
the
the
cold.
draft. I don't know that they're getting the Super Bowl.
They did Minneapolis. It was the coldest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Minneapolis significantly bigger? Like when you factor in the city size and all of it, than can't like. They have
definitely.
they have to be
Much
able to
bigger city.
actually host the Super Bowl. Like we talk about the hotels for an NCAA tournament, like the Super Bowl has to be.
Yeah. Maybe there's maybe you have to get you have to get a Final Four to get
Like
a
I
Super
would be
Bowl.
skeptical of Denver, and Denver's bigger than Kansas City.
Is DC building indoors? Is there new
Yes.
stadium? Yeah, that's going to be new.
I don't-
indoor.
I don't know if it actually, Joey, I'm not 100% sure if it's indoor or
I could take a look.
if it, because they're doing the thing now where a lot of the stadiums have like the half roof on it or like the awning or whatever. Like Buffalo's building a new stadium. They obviously don't think they're getting a Super Bowl. There will be no Buffalo Super Bowl.
There's going to never be a Cincinnati Super Bowl, a
No.
Baltimore Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I don't know. That is most of the topic.
Do you think the Gare Bears think they're going to get a Super Bowl in Gary?
I bet they think that.
We can ask our Chicago expert, Matt McMaster.
Yeah, when the Bears move to Gary, Indiana,
That's
will
gonna,
they get a
that's
Super
gonna be
Bowl?
hilarious.
Do you deserve a Super Bowl in Gary, Indiana?
What a great question. And
I
then they'll
don't
say,
think they do.
they're not moving to Gary, Indiana. They're not doing that. And then they probably will, which would be really funny. All right, we'll take a break. Any thoughts on that? We'll take them 402-951-1620. We will round out the hour with the headlines coming up next on 1620 The Zone. Oh, but first, thank you, Joey. A word from our friends at Underdog Fantasy, football's biggest game, as we were just talking about, right around the corner. You can get in on all the action with Underdog right now in Nebraska. Not on Underdog yet, then you're in luck because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is easy. Head to the app, make picks on if a player will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. If you get those right, you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, there's new promos dropping daily in the app. So if you like making picks and if you like winning money, then Underdog is the place to be for the game on Sunday. This week on Underdog, man, you could go wherever it is you would like. Maybe you're in on the Sam Darnold narrative. Take the hires. If you are out on the Sam Darnold redemption arc, you take the lowers. It's all up to you on Underdog. What are you waiting for? Download the app today. Use promo code HAPPER1620 to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. Promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus for present Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing. Get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Before we get to the headlines, I found something out about Schaefer during the break. He is not excited for the Tirico Super Bowl, which we have on Sunday.
Now, here's a guy who is not a fan of fun.
I think he's in on Collinsworth.
Oh, I love Chris Collinsworth.
I do too. But finally, Tirico gets Super Bowl, and you're like,
I'm not a big Tirico guy.
Unbelievable. I think broadcasters love Tirico because he's so good at the stuff that is difficult for a lot of people.
Sure.
He's so good at the big moments of the game.
I think he's good at that too. But like he is, so Schaefer says, I'm not so sure about it. But what separates him is he understands the rules completely.
Yeah, so that's part of it.
It seamlessly shifts between rules analysts and Collinsworth and himself, and like he doesn't step over the entire thing. Like the details he's really good at. I understand I don't think he has like the big game voice.
That's part of it.
That people are really looking for.
The voice is a big part of it. Some of it is just like everybody's got their own. Like I'm not a Joe Buck guy either.
Oh,
mostly I
Joe
like
Buck.
him more for football but baseball, definitely not a Joe Buck guy.
I do kind of miss the occasional Joe Buck Packer games on Fox. I'm having a hard time getting used to seeing Kevin Burkhardt on the big games.
I miss Joe Buck baseball.
I miss him on baseball.
I'm happy to have people that like doing baseball and not someone who
but Joe Buck that was a different time in Joe Buck's life.
Yeah, I'm not giving him a pass.
He had hair
He
plugs.
had the single greatest job that any baseball broadcaster would want, and he
was poisoning himself with hair plugs.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's Joe Buck's lifestyle.
But he's better now.
I'm not going to comment on that. That's between him and his hair.
He's better now. All right, so we have differentiating views on broadcast, which I enjoy.
I mean, I really like. Oh, I didn't know he was coming in. I thought we were giving you a call.
Oh, Michael's here. Great. This is fantastic.
Do you want to click on some links, Michael?
He has takes. Well, just let him get comfortable. Okay, let's
let him get ready.
Give me some headlines, Joey. What do we got?
Okay, the first one's in New Jersey. A New Jersey man called cops to brag about escaping a police chase. It didn't end well for him.
Interesting. Called the cops to tell people he had escaped the cops.
There's a level of stupidity to this that I would like to know more about.
Want to put a pin in it?
We're gonna hold off on this one for now.
Okay, the second one is in North Carolina. So, North Carolina man broke into Little Caesars after closing and started making and selling pizzas. Cops say.
I think that's the one for
Done.
me.
Yep, we're clicking.
Okay, so a man in North Carolina has been charged with multiple felonies after he allegedly broke into a Little Caesars pizza shop after it had closed and began making and selling pizzas.
Dude, that's what I always wanted to do when, like, you know where they used to have the Little Caesars inside the Kmart?
No, I
don't remember.
They had the Little Caesars.
No memory of this.
They had the Little Caesars inside the Kmart at 132nd Maple. And I always, because there was no one ever there. There was no business that was ever going on. And I was just wondering, like, what are they doing back there? Can I go back and make my own cheesy bread or something like that? I always thought about this.
I've seen videos of that where someone's just trying to bring food at some restaurants, see if they could get them made.
This guy
usually rejected.
This guy just let the intrusive thoughts win, which
just broken in the dead hours.
Does the story go into detail? Like, so he had said that he was selling the pizzas.
Yeah. I got more information.
All right.
So the rogue pizza maker, 41-year-old Jonathan Hackett, allegedly entered the Kingston area shop while it was closed on Sunday and kept all the profits from his pizza sales for himself, according to a statement from the Kingston Police Department. Hackett is so he's reportedly a former employee of the shop. The Charlotte Observer reports he may have gotten away with his alleged crime, but police say he tried to break into the shop a second time and was arrested at that moment. So the Kingston Police Department responded to Little Caesars in reference to breaking and entering. Upon arrival, officers were advised that 41-year-old Jonathan Hackett, a former employee, had unlawfully entered the business on 2 separate occasions, the police said. The report also noted that Hackett allegedly got into a fight with other employees at the shop on the day of the second incident. He had been injured in the brawl and was taken for treatment by police. During the second incident, Hackett again broke into the business, and this is what the police is saying in the statement. But while it was occupied by employees attempted to prevent Hackett from entering, which resulted in that physical altercation. So Hackett's charges include felony breaking and entering, felony obtaining property by false pretenses, felony larceny after breaking and entering, misdemeanor breaking and entering, and violating the city's curfew, which the city established a curfew ahead of a major snowstorm that hit the area the previous week.
Yeah.
The curfew was in effect from January 31st until February 2nd. The police had not revealed the number of pizzas he allegedly made or how much money he made selling them, but he is booked into the Lenoir County Jail.
Nice.
So I have many questions, most of which we probably can't answer, but like, so the other employees, were they were there when he tried to break in the second time?
The second time. So they weren't there the first time.
But were they also breaking curfew then by this?
It didn't say in the article.
So that one
Interesting.
stands out to me slightly.
They probably just got there and thought, yeah, we're going to take this guy.
But then I also want to know like who he was selling these pizzas to, because clearly, I mean, if they're closed, then there had to have been these ring of people that knew that this was happening, that he was then selling the pizzas to. Like they could get their Little Caesars pizza made by this individual after hours.
According, by the way, to a local news station, warrants say the man sold a total of 10 pizzas and pocketed $50 for himself.
Yeah, so I mean, were there just people walking up because they saw the light on?
That's possible. I don't know.
Incredible.
Hot and ready.
Also, would they not have known like the supplies and everything were off from the night before?
I don't think people care. They just think Little
That's
Caesars and
possible.
I want my 3-meat treat and I'll take it.
Well, sure. The people getting the pizza don't care. Like I never thought about, apologies to the people that make my pizzas, but I've genuinely never thought about who actually makes my pizza very often.
Me neither.
So certainly wouldn't have considered it if I was just getting the pizza at that point.
All right.
But the people that own the store, they would have cared about the supplies, right?
So here's my thing on this. Kinston, North Carolina used to have a suburb called Happersville, North Carolina.
Oh.
They named it after my, I don't know, great grandfather, who was like the mayor of the town. And there's this whole backstory and like really kind of sketchy history about the entire
You've gone
thing.
into this before.
I've
heard you go.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's actually absurd. And so there you go. That was all the names of the things sounded familiar. Lenoir County and Kinston.
Look at that.
AKA at one point Happersville. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with Michael Severe coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mike Schaefer with you on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Joined now in studio by our dear friend, Michael Severe. Good
Hello,
morning.
thanks for having me, guys.
Good morning, Michael, who's for some reason turned 12 years old.
I am 12 years old right now.
He's excited for the Super Bowl except for the game.
Not excited at all. They couldn't have picked two worse teams to be in this game for me by far.
Interesting.
Why do you hate them so much?
I don't know what it is about Seattle, but I've never appreciated Seattle.
Is it the Marshawn Lynch run just plays in your mind too much?
You know, they were 7-9.
Yep.
And the Saints had to go there.
You like when the good teams win.
That really sucked.
Yeah. I would have thought the Rams with the pass interference would be
that's bad, but I actually
more of a thing.
So I have this but I like to see people that I'm friends with have success with their sports teams. And so that wouldn't be horrible for me because as much as I don't like Matt Stafford and his wife, I would be happy for John if that happened. If they would have gotten in there, I'd have been okay with that.
You not liking Kelly Stafford would have been like a minus 1,000.
Yeah, it's pretty much locked in. And so I don't so that would be fine for me if they would have gotten in. I just don't like Seattle. I don't know what it is about it. I just don't like them. Okay. Look at it. The other Super Bowls. I skipped a Super Bowl. I chose to fly during a Super Bowl because it was cheaper. It was Pittsburgh, Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see that. I never saw that game. I watched it
2005.
much later. But I don't care about Seattle. And then on the other side, who's happy about the Patriots? Nobody. I mean, worst city in America, Boston, right?
That Saturday divisional round game with Buffalo and Denver, just the way that it ended, and then the news that came out, just so deflating in every possible way.
Yep. And the Patriots probably, because of it, they'll probably win. I mean, every stat and every trend says they won't. You know, all the great trends are out there saying that they're not. There's no way they're going to win this game. But you know, they probably end up doing it.
Single game contact.
Because your boy, throws a couple picks, a couple fumbles, leads the league again in turnovers.
My boy is going to play well, and I'll get to be sad about that.
I mean, we'll see how he plays. He still led the league in turnovers.
Oh yeah.
He still takes a lot of sacks. Another bet I took over the 5.5 sacks for the game.
There will be a lot,
and
of
it's going up. It's going up. By the way,
there will be a lot of sacks.
I believe it's going up.
Yeah. So just because Severe is not interested in really the game doesn't mean he's not interested in.
No, I have props.
I'm
all over them. I love props. It's one of the best things about the Super Bowl. I mean, thank you to
great.
Refrigerator Perry, 1986, one of the Super Bowls I went to, by the way, left in the third quarter. Wasn't much of a game. But anyway, yes, because of that, we got all these great props. It's 4.5.
4.5 right now.
Do you have a favorite prop bet?
My favorite, I love both quarterbacks.
Not just for this specific game, but one that you like to make every Super Bowl.
Well, I always find a running back that I take for over reception.
Okay.
Because every year it was like that. I had for the Patriots, the year they won the second greatest Super Bowl of all time, when they came back against the Atlanta Falcons. I had running back props all over for catching passes. And what's his name? Ended up the Wisconsin kid. Yeah, had 14 catches or something like that. Yeah. So and I had him for a touchdown. I had him for all kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's one of my probably more than anything else.
I'm a sucker for
Kenneth Walker this year.
No, actually, I took. I have the Ohio State kid
Henderson.
Yeah, and it's only, I believe it's only like 2.5 yards.
Yeah,
it's really low. It's one catch basically.
Wow. I am a sucker for the 2.5. Over under 2.5 passers in a game. Mm-hmm. So one extra quarterback or a trick play or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I bet that every year.
I like that.
I'm looking at it right now. How about a Rashid Shaheed,
or the better returner in terms of overall, the former 2021 Jet Award winner, Marcus Jones, who has set the record for average in terms of punt return for a career so far. He's the greatest punt returner right now by numbers in NFL history.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you can go him or you can go...
you can go either one of them. Yeah, certainly. Well, what you do with that is you bet a defensive touchdown. Yeah. So you get the special teams.
I love... Every year I do...
Octopus?
I do a wacky score. I like an exact score, just like a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And the Super Bowl always... it never ends up 24-21.
No, not I mean,
rarely.
There's always some odd number, so 33 or 22 or something like that. I'm going to throw one or two of those.
I am cheering if one person I'm cheering for, I am cheering for Rashid Shaheed because former Saint. A lot of belief that he'll go into free agency and come back to the Saints, which I would like. since they did discover him, nobody ever heard of him, and they brought him in training camp, and he ended up making the team. But
how many more games would they have won at the end of the year, making you even more unhappy had they kept him?
They don't use him. They weren't using him great. I would say probably maybe one
more game.
They got in the 7.
Could they have gotten that Miami win?
Maybe. You just never know. I mean, here's the funny stat about that. So I took the under 5.5 rush yards for him because everybody thinks, oh, he's had these runs. In 16 of the 20 games, he's had less than 2 yards rushing.
Right.
Even this last time, they ran him on a little end around. He got -1 yard.
Right.
So that's one of them I took. I hope he has a good return game. I don't want to see him have a good rush game because I have him under 5.5 rush yards at -115.
Well, the real reason that you're here, I think,
about car washes.
Yeah, it's gonna be. They're gonna be in use today. That's for sure.
I go every day.
I'm shocked by this.
I have an unlimited plan that I bought at an auction. It expires pretty soon too. I don't even know when. It's sometime in the middle of this month. And it's a full year, and so I'm using it. And I drive past two. I drive past the one at my work, and then I drive past the one at 60th and Center. And so why not just swing in there, go through it for a minute? By the way, AM radio comes in fine.
It does. Okay,
comes in great.
Know.
I have it on, and why not go every day?
Isn't that bad for your car?
I have no idea.
It has to.
I
be
hate
bad.
my car, so if it, I hate the car that I bought. So if something bad happens to it, whatever.
So you wash it every day.
I literally hate it. I hate the car.
It was such an amazing. So Michael and I rode back from Minneapolis.
Yes,
Michael drove us back. We went to the Matt Verzal Memorial the day after the Celebration of Life, the day after the Nebraska Minnesota massacre, and I get in the car, and it's a relatively new vehicle, and it's a nice vehicle, and you say something like, "Oh, nice vehicle," and I hate this thing.
I hate the car. It's the worst car I've ever owned.
It does some things. There's
got
some
gremlins
spirits
in it.
There's some spirits that live in this car.
Yes.
I learned about this.
Yes, it's horrible.
And so you wash it every day.
And I literally fast forward. I literally
never considered that might be part
This
of
is how
it.
much I hate it. I fast forward a certain commercial on a certain show I listen to every day, hosted by Connor and a guy named Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Every time Mitch reads the commercial, I fast forward it because it's that car. That's how much I hate the car and the company that made the car.
Okay. Well,
I know
that could be one brand. Yes,
that's one brand. Yes,
they have very weird things that they.
It drives
want
nice.
the host to say.
It drives nice. It drives nice,
and it's clean.
And it's clean as hell. I went through it yesterday. I went through the day before that.
Well, you'll be in there with a bunch of people today.
It's really not bad. They go so fast.
Yeah, they go. They're bumper to bumper in there.
The one at 100 and 120, 108th and Center, that one's backed up like crazy.
Oh, the one with the
hidden one. Yeah, they call him the Butterman.
Is that what they call him?
The Butterman is like a giant thing made out of butter.
The Russell Speeder guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't know he was called the Butterman.
They call him the Butterman. Yeah.
They have the one at the 114th in Dodge where you could go they'll if you give them like 10 more bucks, they'll
do it for you. Yep.
Inside.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
nice.
That's actually absolutely. I have the unlimited. That's part of the unlimited
so
package.
You get that with that too?
Oh, wow. I've never used it. If I want to clean my car, I'll clean it myself.
Yeah,
I don't.
I was cleaning myself too.
Yeah.
No,
okay,
but Roger Craig is going to the Hall of Fame finally, deservedly so. And so we thought you would be a good person to talk to about.
It's funny. I just had this is about a week and a half ago. I had an argument on a thread that we have with a bunch of people that go to the draft. We hang out. Anyway, they were arguing about what was going on with Belichick, and I said, well, first of all, Roger Craig should have been in years ago. We talked to Roger Craig. We had him on the show numerous times when he was working in San Francisco as a big wig at a tech firm. We talked to people who are on the committee, right, about it. If it wasn't for the fumble against the Giants in an NFC Championship game that cost the Niners a chance to go to 3 straight Super Bowls and probably win 3 straight, he would be in already. That's the one thing.
Wow.
Right? I mean, which is crazy about it. One play. And I've talked to him about it, and he knows. He knows that it gets brought up. That one play in his career, that fumble kept him out. He's a pioneer. How we always, because I'm old, they have this nostalgia for players, and sometimes it's not really real. We felt like he was the real deal. The high knees, catching the ball in the backfield. Luckily, going to a team that had a genius who knew how to get the ball to running backs out of the backfield and use the pass to make the run go in Bill Walsh, it was perfect for him. I mean, he's a one-of-one.
So here's where I always struggle with Roger Craig, because you just can't look at stats and compare eras, because he was a pioneer. Like, what's a contemporary type of player to what Roger Craig was at that.
Modern day Roger Craig.
It's funny because I would say that he was very Reggie Bush-like,
Mhm.
but he was so much more physical.
I was going to say there's a power
He
component.
was
to
so
this,
much
too.
more physical.
So he's
He
not
was
just
a
like
better
third down
runner.
back. Yeah.
How about McCaffrey?
McCaffrey, it's funny about McCaffrey is McCaffrey's actually, I believe, more shifty. He's more of a shifty guy.
Yeah.
Roger Craig ran you over. The high knees,
Right.
the physicality.
He was tall,
the man played fullback at Nebraska
Yeah.
in front of Mike Rozier, right? So he's physical. And it's funny, as well as McCaffrey catches the ball, he didn't catch as deep of dart routes or arrow routes or whatever you want to call it as Roger Craig did. Look, later it became Ricky Waters doing the same thing. But look how many times
Ricky Waters.
he caught the ball past 10 yards.
Yeah.
I don't see that much from McCaffrey. It's a good comparison because of the 1,000 idea of it.
That's sort of what I was thinking.
Yeah, the 1,000 thing is so, it's only happened 3 times. And what you have to do in that situation is obviously I get a lot of pass catches. He led the league one year in receiving catches, I believe. You have to have that happen for you, of course. Plus, you need to be on a team that
92 catches in 85
that will dedicate themselves to running the ball. And it's funny because that's what the Niners would do. The Niners would throw the ball early on you, and then in the second half, they'd run the ball down your throat because of that great offensive line. And it wasn't a big offensive line. It was a very athletic zone scheme kind of offensive line, and those guys would dominate you. Roger Craig is also, you guys read 24th and Glory, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he is also a great example of that. So his family lived in Preston, Mississippi, which is a very small town. It's such a small town that the football team that he went to, but he played, would have played, was not in Preston. There was a town next to it. Because that's not small of a town. There's one zip code. He left there because his family, like many black families that lived in the Deep South, decided to move up north. And so they came to Iowa and Davenport for jobs and opportunity. And so that's how he ended up in this part of the country. If he stays down there, he probably doesn't end up in Nebraska.
Yeah, no.
He probably doesn't. Even though Nebraska recruited the hell out of Louisiana and Mississippi at those times, they probably don't get him. And then after that, he's lucky enough to go to a place, like I mentioned, with San Francisco, which a lot of luck on his part. Getting out of Mississippi, getting up to that area, playing with Jamie Williams, who got a lot of attention when he was in high school, helped Roger Craig get more attention, then coming to Nebraska, doing what he did here, and then obviously going on to play for a team like San Francisco, which highlighted his career.
That had to have been, I mean, although, people think about him more as an NFL player than they do as a college player, that what he did at Nebraska, what he was required to do at Nebraska, had to be helpful for his career.
Sure. I don't know if Nebraska was considered a football factory for the NFL in terms of specialty guys or guys that played wide receiver, running back, maybe tight end. He certainly turned that to a place where if you look at the next 5 or 6 running
iteration
backs,
of it,
it just blew up in terms of how many they were taking. But
that's really interesting.
Him.
I've never actually thought about that, but you don't hear about like 70s Nebraska eye backs or tailbacks.
Yeah, the guys who were good, I don't believe had huge.
But then that run after kind of Craig and Rozier, it just sort of takes off from there. And then now we're to present day where it doesn't exist anymore. And then we had the great run, right? We had the great run with Superman in terms of Burkhead. We had Roy Halou Jr., who's on his 7th kid now, I believe,
Amir.
Getting ready to happen. And then Amir. Yeah. And I believe, and I've always said this, and believe me or not, if Bo stays here, the next couple of running backs still go to the NFL. Because they run the ball better. I mean, I still believe Mikael Wilbon would have been a running back here.
Oh,
I'm telling you, he would have been a running back here. They loved him. Talking to Joe during the year I did this, Joe, they would. I know he had the injury, but Mikael would have had success here in the system. They were so bad at running the ball in 2015 when they took over. They didn't know how to line up in the shotgun to give zone read. Literally, we would sit in the stadium with Joe, and he'd point out where they lined up. It was incorrect. They didn't know how to run it. So that's obviously going to hurt your running back and your quarterback if you don't know how to line up.
Well, they figured it out in 16.
Figured it out in 16.
And that was mostly Tommy.
Because they brought people in.
Yeah.
They brought people in to help him.
Right.
But so I think they still would have had, maybe Newby would have got a shot. He ended up being a free agent with the Vikings and went in. I think he probably ends up getting drafted too if he's 1,000-yard back in that system. But yeah, it's all about.
I'm trying to think of who else would have been in that mix around that time before Riley was there. So it would have been Amani Cross, who probably wouldn't have because of speed.
Yeah.
And
he was a straight line guy. He couldn't.
Wilbon.
He was shifty. Yeah. Who was there was another guy, though. Who was the other guy that got injured? There's another guy.
Well,
that
there
got
was
injured.
Adam
Well, they
Taylor.
had-
Yeah, Adam Taylor.
They loved Adam
Yeah.
Taylor. Everybody loved Adam Taylor.
Yeah.
He just couldn't stay healthy.
And then
Adam's the-
later they had Trey Bryant.
Oh yeah, later than that. Yeah. The great thing about Adam Taylor is, and I think this is an example of why Nebraska struggles. This is part of my thesis. Adam got hurt. Adam loved playing football at Nebraska, but not playing football in Nebraska. And so had a really nice car, was a part of the team, didn't play, but he was okay with that. I think there are too many guys over the course of the last 10 years that have been that guy.
Yeah.
That didn't really necessarily worry about playing as much as being on the team.
You can have a
Jay
great
Foreman
life.
refers to him as the Instagram warriors of Nebraska.
Yes, exactly.
They love to get the gear on, get the photos,
Yep.
get the face paint, get
Right.
all of that, and then nowhere to be found. when
They're
they
fine
go to
without
the top.
playing.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, there was a whole host of those guys from 2017 to about 2021 that
Yeah.
you could say the name and people would know instantly.
that takes us back to Roger Craig. You get a guy coming in from junior college in Mike Rozier who's going to have your job, and instead of saying, "Well, I'll just sit behind him," you're like, "No, I'll play fullback." That's the example of a guy who wanted to be on the
Right.
field. There are too many guys that don't necessarily want to be on the field. And one more thing about him is also really a smart guy. Like when he went out to San Francisco, immediately he kind of got in the business world out there, knowing that he'd have to have a career after. Because those guys didn't make the money they make now. And since then, he has been the president or CEO or executive director of something for the whole time he's been out there.
Yeah.
But he's a
That's
smart guy who got in the business
impressive.
world in a tech, that whole Silicon Prairie area, right? He got involved in that early on, and he's still working in it now. So he was the real deal. He was. It's not us looking back as old people talking about it. He was a big physical back, catch the ball out of backfield, who was the key to that offense.
There's a lot of people older than me, but became 49ers fans because Roger
I bet.
Craig was playing.
And Rappin was there.
Rappin
And
as
Jamie
well.
Jamie Williams was there too. You had
and
three-
they're winning. Obviously,
and they're
that's
winning,
always
yeah.
a big part of things too. But
Yeah.
I mean, you hear that from people. I think my brother-in-law is one of them where,
Yeah.
Roger Craig being part of it made him interested in the 49ers.
Yeah, it was Jared Bell that told us, who was a voter for the Hall of Fame, who told us that came up in conversations.
That's
the fumble
crazy.
came up in conversations.
Who do we
for
know
him.
who else is going to be part of this class? I know it hasn't fully been released yet.
Yeah, they're
but-
supposed to release it at the honors show. It's supposed to be a surprise.
It's supposed to be tonight, right?
Yeah, the honors show happens, and then they bring them out. And they're like, "Oh, here's the guys." But
Your guy Drew Brees.
I don't. I don't like Drew Brees. I can't. I hate.
I
Drew
know
Brees.
what I said.
I hate Drew Brees.
I know what I said,
I
Michael.
hate Drew Brees with a passion. You know how much I dislike Drew Brees? Drew Brees came here for an event that he was the keynote speaker, and somebody asked me to MC the event, and I turned it down. I don't turn down MCing any event. I've never charged. I do every one of them. I turned that one down. That's how much I don't like Drew Brees.
Because you wouldn't have been able to control what you might say to him.
It's possible.
You
It's
just didn't want to
certainly-
be in the same room with
Do
him.
you remember we were on the sideline at Purdue, and he's on the sideline, glad handing with everybody. Media people are going up and shaking his hand. I'm like, going to shake Drew Brees. Thank you for the Super Bowl. Thank you for also ruining the sandwich culture in the city. Appreciate it. Bringing Jimmy John's in.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you very much. Get out of here.
Shout out to Drew Brees.
Don't like Drew Brees. I'm not Drew Brees.
No
fan.
shout out. We're
No,
not
I'm not shouting out Drew
to
Brees at all.
Brees in the opposite way.
One of the few people that I really, as a Saints
Shout
fan,
down Drew
don't like.
Brees.
Yes, shout down him.
Shout down Drew Brees.
I actually had a crazy dream.
Hashtag shout down
That
Drew
needs to be a
Brees.
new segment. The shout down.
The shout down. I like it.
Shout down.
Joey shouting down this
Joey
week?
could pick this week's shout down.
Wait, so
Rich
it's gonna be Richard
Bisaccia.
Bisaccia.
I had a dream every
Yep,
week.
yep,
I had a
every week.
dream that I was on your unemployed show, and we did the top that 5 thing.
Yeah.
And you like my favorite Saints. And
I
like, you-
engineered it so Breeze would be your number one.
yeah, you engineered it, but I waited to save 5, knowing Drew Brees was coming.
Okay.
And put him at 5.
And you're over here. You're like, yeah, Joe Horn can go here.
Joe
Juice
Horn,
McAllister
yes.
can go there.
My favorite Saint of all time is Ricky Jackson.
Aaron Brooks is going here.
I put Aaron
Nice.
above him. Yes, much nicer guy. Yes, never got involved in a jewelry scheme. Never was part of any kind of medical scheme. Was never. Yeah, no. all those
Scott
things.
Shanley's going here.
But if Scott would have only picked that fumble up, that game would have been over earlier.
Mm,
I'm telling you, that would have made it 28-14. And I don't know if you ever come back from that
I don't know.
because the ball's right there at the 50. He's got to pick it up and run in the end zone. It's a touchdown. 28-14. Game's over, dude.
Well, look, it still went how it went.
Still went the way it
It
went.
didn't matter for me.
But we
either
did get
way.
a great Paul Allen call out of it.
I don't know if I'd call it great.
It was memorable.
It's memorable.
You talking about the call for the interception?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that a great call. I would not call that a great call.
That was the Arizona
If you're on
game.
the radio, you have no idea what happened. That's not a good call.
Oh, that wasn't that one? That wasn't the no
The
one?
no was the Arizona game.
Yeah,
That
then
got the
that-
Packers in the playoffs.
Yep.
That
Oh,
was
no,
really good.
that was the deflated, like, oh, it's intercepted in the season.
Yes, exactly.
I can't
Yes.
believe it.
And the opposite
That's
call,
the-
Jim Henderson's
you know,
call is a great
You
call.
can take a knee. I don't have the quote.
Yeah, the Jim Henderson call is an incredible call. That's going away from us where I was sitting in the stadium. The interception happens, but then they were coming back for the
We
field
don't need
goal.
to discuss this.
So they kick the field goal.
We can
They
move
kick
on
the
from
field
this.
goal.
Let's
inside-
talk about
down.
the gala.
Shout
We should
down.
talk
down
about
that
the
play.
gala.
Tracy Porter, shout down him.
Shout down
I
Tracy
already had
Porter.
to watch that. You were talking about the Super Bowls you've skipped. I've skipped one as an adult. And it was the Colts Saints.
Was it really? Did you
Yeah.
skip
So
it?
I worked the night desk shift basically at the DN as a sports editor on Sunday, and it's Super Bowl Sunday, and someone's like, "Hey, I'll fill in for you. I know that you would want to watch the Super Bowl."
Right.
I was like, "No, I'm good."
Never mind. You're good.
Oh, so
So the
you,
TV's like the only TV in the Daily Nebraskan that's working is behind me.
Right.
And so everybody else is like standing around for the commercials. 'Cause
Yeah.
most of the people working Sunday didn't care about the game. They wanted to watch the commercials. You know, I'm just sitting there at my computer, refusing to look behind me, like have my hearing aids turned down so I can't hear the volume of the game.
I hate watched the Rams Patriots game. I hate
Yeah.
watched it.
That was
And
a
it was
horrible-
a horrible
Super
game.
Bowl.
And
the first or the
The
13-3,
13-10.
13-10-3,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
13-3. The Rams didn't score a touchdown.
No, it was 13.
Yeah, they didn't score. I remember that well. The
Nothing
Saints would
happened.
have scored a
I
touchdown.
lost a good amount of money on that Super Bowl.
I know someone who had no points scored in the first half
Whoa.
and no touchdown scored for the game.
Wow.
Like
Oh,
he was
man.
on the verge of getting hit like a 250-1.
wow.
Yeah. And that game was nuts defensively. All the defensive props hit.
That was like the first play of the game. Didn't Brandon Cooks just get completely knocked
Let out,
out? Of that?
yeah.
And then at that point, the Rams offense.
And he came
really-
back. He came back with the concussion. That
Oh,
was one
that's
of those where
right.
he came back
I
with the
forgot
concussion.
about that. I thought he was just done.
And he played. Yeah, he came back.
Hmm.
Yeah. You want Gala's April 2nd, by the way. Anybody wants to know?
So, yes,
April 2nd is the gala,
I'm
yeah.
looking at the AI created.
My son
Poster.
is so mad at me for that. My son, who is an art major, he like called me out. I've never seen him act that way before.
Wow.
Miles yelled at me.
You as a caricature with the microphone and a tuxedo and
Yes.
book is just incredible.
It's hilarious.
It's fantastic.
I made one with my family too, and it had him in it. And he goes, "Don't ever put me in an AI picture again."
Good
And I'm like,
wow.
"What is
Good on
going
him.
on?"
Old
He said,
soul.
"I am an artist."
I'm enjoying this anti-AI run from society right
Well,
now.
the young kids, there's a lot of kids who are anti it over at UNO. Apparently, there's a whole group of them that band together on anti-AI. So yes, it's a big thing. But yes, it is April 2nd. It's going to be a fun event. Now I will tell you this: the sad part, the whole thing is that it is a Iowa event.
Yep.
It is-
Tim
oh,
Dwight.
Tim Dwight is our legacy winner,
Weechin again.
which you had to put him in there because if you know
They
the
talk
big,
about a return, man.
yeah, and the Big Ten, the Big Ten award
Yep.
is the Rogers Dwight Award.
That's right.
So we had to get him in there, and he was there last year, handing the award out to Caden Weegent. So I just asked him, and then Caden's back again, and there was a unanimous vote. I mean, he was the best.
There's no
returner.
doubt.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, our Mentor of the Year award that we give out, we're giving out to Scott Strohmeyer, the head coach at Iowa Western, because the season obviously he went through with losing his daughter and then winning a fourth championship, and so he is getting that too. So yes, it is a very much an Iowa award.
and we're at the Steelhouse this year.
We moved to the Steelhouse this year. I've been working on trying to get that done. Not a lot of people in our group wanted to get it done. They're worried about parking, but I got the garage right next door through the city. We got
that.
I got that done, and we also have the valet people too. And they basically close down the 12th Street and they park your car along the street. So this is the one
Beautiful.
my son was mad about.
Did you post that one on Facebook?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I didn't post it because my son's so mad
Okay.
about it. Yeah, I didn't post. I posted a different one on Facebook.
Okay.
But not that AI with him in it. But yeah, so it's gonna be a fun event.
I
We're
can't
giving
wait.
away also the Mr. Football Award. Obviously goes to Jet Tamala. It's kind of hard not to have him. And then Sonora DeFini.
Yeah, I would hope that was unanimous as
That
well.
was unanimous. We basically wait till after everything is over, and I just send a text out to everybody, and I go, "This is not a vote, right?" And they go, "Yeah, it's not a vote."
Yeah.
So yeah,
Michael, thanks for stopping by and shout down the Super Bowl, I guess.
shout down to Super Bowl. And 2002 is the last time Nebraska, after 2002, felt like this. Because that was my first year
That's a good
here,
answer.
and it's coming off a bowl game where you didn't
Yeah.
play well the whole season. You didn't know what was happening in 2003. You changed a ton of coaches. That's the closest one I can figure out.
Well,
So
the only thing
is
to do
Rob
is-
RH Bopolini? That's the next conversation we can have.
Good one.
Yes, although Rob obviously didn't have any ties at all. But I don't know. I hope so. I hope it is.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, guys.
Michael Severe, everybody. Once again, the Jet Gala is April 2 this year, and we'll have you plenty of information as we get closer and closer to that date. All right, when we come back, Brian Christopherson's on the other side on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. We're joined now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline by our good friend, Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. BC, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Should we go basketball again? I always like to, we have to make this decision at the beginning of the BC interviews. We go basketball. We don't have much to talk about for basketball.
We could start football, and then if we want to work a basketball in at the end, we could.
Okay.
We could ask him, let's start football.
All right.
Let's start football.
Okay. Special teams.
Go.
This has been a whole ordeal, and I think we finally have our answer as to what it's going to look like, who's coaching it, who's around it. And obviously has been met with a fair amount of criticism throughout the entire time. Where do you think it landed, depending on where or compared to where it could have, especially after you knew you were losing Eckler?
I guess ever since mid-January, I believed Rule when he had a couple interviews and he said it's going to be in-house. And people kind of kept talking about is it really going to be in-house? But he said it, that's what we're doing. We are staying with the guys that we have here. And I believe that was going to be the case. So, I know when the Josh Martin thing happened, or it became public that he was taking the coaching job at the high school in Texas, that kind of brought it up again. But my mind never really shifted. I was like, well, it's Maher and Humphrey now, and that's sort of been the way it's going to be. Rule definitely thinks. Obviously by the decision he's making, but if you listen to him, he thinks very highly of Maher and what he was doing behind the scenes last year. And at one point, I know he called him the secret weapon of what they were doing. I do think the benefit, I guess, of it is Brett works so closely with that battery, and they all really trust him, and those are your main operating guys. And so there's a confidence with him there, because I remember even last year, Brian Buschini was doing an interview before Pro Day, and Eckler was coming in at that point. There was a lot of excitement about Eckler, but Buschini said Maher's a big deal. That don't lose sight of that. He's going to be huge. That he's a full-time guy. So I would just say that there is a ton of respect for Brett, and he's very sharp, and anyone who's been around him really likes him and thinks he's capable. And so I'm not surprised by it. And then with Humphrey, it is a big call. It's a big assignment. He was running down for Tennessee to cover kicks, in 2022. So he's a very young coach. But he was also Eckler's right-hand man. The guy he chose, handpicked him to come with him to Lincoln. And so we'll see if he can sort of, relay what they've already got going. I think the good thing is a lot of guys are returning who are not in the first chapter of the book. They know sort of what they want to do as their blueprint with special teams with from the Eckler stuff that they're continuing on. The big question is probably everybody has is, did Eckler have that extra something, not just the teaching, but that sort of that juice that gets guys to just I want to be a part of this and I cannot let that guy down. Can these coaches have that same impact?
Earlier, we discussed, Happer and I did, about kind of the temperature of where the fan base is at. Obviously you help run the boneyard over there. Say hello to the fellas for me. But what do you...
What's up, fellas?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they miss you. You're
I appreciate
that. A lot over there.
I appreciate that. What would you say is kind of how do you kind of view where this fan base is at as Nebraska sits in an off season that I would say has not been either particularly stable, nor has it been rife with a bunch of outward upgrades, maybe either?
Yeah. There's a little mini depression, I think, with I think that's true. There's sort of there's not that same, I just expect good things are going to happen. Or when, how it is, when you write off season stuff, there's generally that sort of where people start to talk themselves into things. And I think it's just going to be tougher this offseason. That might not be a bad thing, by the way. We do that a lot around here where we work ourselves up to and maybe we still will this time, where by July or August, people have convinced themselves of like 2 more wins than they would have had this time of year in January, February. But I do think it's going to be harder to get there this season with how people are going to just nod their heads. Probably a good example is I think there's a lot of like reason to be kind of excited or at least curious or entertained by Anthony Calandria, right? Like, I think that's a really interesting quarterback that's could be running the show for Nebraska. And I'm kind of excited to see like what that looks like and what they do with him. And I think others are too, but I still think it's like more muted about that than it has been past times when there's like a quarterback like that who was, like a conference player of the year somewhere and just came in. The balloons aren't quite as high in the sky, I don't think, as sometimes they've been for something like that.
BC, when we talked last week about basketball, I mean, I think we all wholeheartedly agreed with you about, focus being on the Big Ten title race here. Well, those chances took a big hit on Sunday with the loss to Illinois. Is there any, I mean, Nebraska has this Rutgers game coming up this weekend, and then obviously a gigantic game on Tuesday with Purdue. They're done with Illinois at this point, but Illinois looks like a different team. Is there any, what is your hope level for still finishing at the top of the table in the Big Ten?
Yeah, that was a huge game. But when we were setting that up, you thought if Nebraska, which, they're up 6 at half, even though the way it went, we acted like it's kind of obvious they lost it by the end because Illinois did, assert their physicality really well. I think it's going to be tough now just because had you won, you had the tiebreaker over Illinois, who I was thinking could be, and now I think they're the best team. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see who wins that game between Michigan and them. But yeah, it could be hard to catch them. I don't see them losing more than 3 games total. Don't you think that? Like maybe it's like a 17-3 or something, or you'd have to 18-2. I don't know, 17-3 at least to maybe win it. So it would be very difficult to do. Nebraska's schedule is interesting because they've got a lot of bottom feeders still on it, where you get, Maryland and Penn State at home and you get Northwestern at home. I always think winning on the road's tough no matter who. So even this Saturday against Rutgers, I say you got to go earn that, but that would be another team near the bottom. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, but first things first, you just got to get sort of that winning mindset this Saturday, get that bad taste out of your mouth from last week, even though there's nothing to hang your head about losing to those 2 squads. But, don't let this thing build where you go out there and have a sleepy game Saturday in Piscataway and lose one like Michigan State lost last night. And then suddenly it's at 3 losses. And, then the talk builds up like maybe you guys aren't who we thought we were sort of thing. So this is a good chance, I think, to kind of stamp that out before it starts if they can go play some good ball out there.
Is there a way in which the Rutgers game being an 11 a.m. tip on the road kind of works to Nebraska's advantage? Like you're likely to get a good fight from this Rutgers team that pushed Michigan State a week ago. And it doesn't kind of just allow you to sort of coast. Like I think they have to have the attitude of showing up on Saturday. Otherwise they will lose.
Yeah, I think so too, Schaefer. I think, teams like Rutgers, when they're at this point in their season, there's always a couple of games like in February where they're going to rise up and they see an opportunity to be a ranked team and sort of have something to, I guess, put up at the team banquet like we did this, sort of thing, if you want to go back to your high school years when you had that sort of stuff. So, this would probably represent that kind of game for them where they see an opportunity. What will be interesting with them is, they were just on that West Coast trip. And so I wonder, if today, they sort of lost a day maybe this week where you're coming back across the country from that and how good they're going to be for that game after that. And they really got embarrassed last time out on the floor. But I think Nebraska has to look at Rutgers. If you look at their last 6 games, they've been there with teams. Like they were ahead of Michigan State by double digits. They lost, I think, at Iowa by like 6 or something like that. And so you circle those games, say, hey, they're capable of that type of performance. We need to anticipate that's what they're going to bring to us.
All right, BC, we will let you go. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you taking the time, and have a good weekend.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7, where they miss Mike Schaefer in the boneyard.
It has been a while. It has been a while.
Let's go check the boards.
Good people over there.
Let's go check the boards and see what they're chatting about right now.
Probably some what is Rule doing threads. What's happening with the special teams threads.
Brett Maher, Tanner Vibabule, Roger Craig, Jet Tamala.
Which we should point out, Tanner Vibabule signed with somebody else.
He signed with James Madison. Well, did he sign yet, or did he just? I don't know if he signed.
Well,
yet.
he's linked.
It feels like he's
somebody.
not coming to Nebraska.
Yeah, which I don't know why, as that is no longer a profession that I have to
care about
in the same way.
Yeah,
care isn't the word I was choosing to use, but yeah, that's probably accurate.
The accurate description.
I'll find out from Tim today and let you know.
I don't see any Mike Schaefer threads.
It's good. I don't need
start
any
one
threads.
up. Talk about Schaefer on the boards, folks.
We're good.
All right, we'll be back after this, around at the 8:00 hour on 1620 The Zone. Hey, congratulations. So it was a Creighton Georgetown doubleheader last night, one in Omaha and one in DC. The Creighton women with a great finish where Grace Buffelli, fifth-year senior, makes a play on her own, goes for the fake dribble handoff and says, "Zoop, I'm going to just take this free pass to the rim. No, thank you." And the Creighton women beat Georgetown. It was not that happy of times for the Creighton men last night, who went down on the road to Georgetown. Talked about them a little bit in the first segment of the show, and obviously very, very tough situation surrounding that game last night, and frankly the season. And so, speaking of the season, I saw this in college basketball yesterday. This is from America's Most Watched Network, CBSSports.com. Isaac Trotter.
I know him.
He came through with a list, and he asked this question: can you win in college basketball strictly using the transfer portal to build a team? It depends on what you're trying to do. The portal has proved to be a source of quick pain relief of teams who want to be competent right away, and a money pit for programs who tried to build a national championship level team strictly using the most expensive avenue of free agency. That's the fascinating part of all of this. Every staff hits free agency with different objectives and sometimes vastly different budgets. Using that context, what programs are happy with their transfer portal hauls? Now that 3 months into the season, we're deep into conference play. Some teams are reaping the rewards of decisions made or not made last spring, and the fallout of those moves will loom large when portal combat begins again. Make no mistake, roster building decisions, who to pay, how much of the cap to allocate are already being discussed and debated in war rooms as we speak. So he says, let's dive into what we've learned about each high major transfer class for the 2025-6 season in no particular order. And so he has a blurb about every team in high major basketball. Let's do Nebraska's first. Nebraska, it says this: few transfers fit into their new scheme quite as snugly as Price Sanford has in Fred Hoiberg's gorgeous offense. The Huskers' investment into the unproven Iowa transfer is transformed into one of the best values on the market. Kendall Blue can't crack this rotation, and injuries have sidelined Mr. Oogie. But Sanford is a future NBA player, and Jamarcus Lawrence, who boomeranged from Rhode Island back for a second stint at Nebraska, is a vital two-way starter. Nebraska's sterling spring has led to a winter to remember. His conclusion is this: scheme conviction matters.
I mean, it's all fair. Obviously, it's Sanford and Lawrence. Like, that's your portal class in its entirety. Jared Garcia has helped a little bit as well. Oogie would be wonderful if you have him. Yep. I don't think that you will.
I don't think
that there's a particular chance that you're going to get.
I really thought there'd be more Kendall Blue on this team, but
yeah,
that is
too. But
not that I care anymore because they're so good. Like, it's not anything to
Caleb
really be concerned
Jacobson
about.
took his minutes.
Yep.
Just took his minutes, and Kendall Blue just doesn't fit what they do at the level that they need him to be at. And there's really nothing you're sacrificing by having,
he's a senior, right? He's
a senior,
he's one and done. Yeah.
Yep.
I was wondering if he could come back next year and it works differently.
No, the Sanford obviously can. And so the big question there is like what it's going to cost to keep him there versus trying the NBA waters versus going into the portal again. So you'll see on that one. I suspect that Sanford will be back. I think that what they sort of have there is unique, and then knowing that Jacobson would be back
agree.
and everything else, I think helps in that regard. But it could not have gone better for Hoiberg. And I think the thing that's sort of notable is that he's done this several times now, where he's really proven to be adept at figuring out this is what we have from a budget perspective. I'm going to go get Sam Griesel. I'm going to go get Bryce Williams. I'm going to go get Jawan Gary. I'm going to get Josh Bandamel, who nobody talks about because he's on that team.
Emmanuel Bandamel.
Yeah,
the team that got hurt
right. And
the
so
16 and 16
right.
team.
And so, but they were really important for him sort of setting that foundation
with him and Griesel. Yeah.
Done a really, really nice job of identifying these guys. And so it makes it kind of fascinating. Like, if that pool is bigger, can you maintain that when you also have to weigh in like, hey, does this fit with what we are trying to do?
Okay. So keep that in mind. Here's Creighton's as described by Isaac Trotter. Every single transfer that Creighton brought in was a part of a really porous defense the year before. Sure enough, this unit is on pace to be the worst Creighton defense in the Ken Palm era, dating back to 96, 97. That's a tough pill to swallow, but you can't say you were not warned. Conclusion, defense matters. So that's a fine, that I understand the conclusion. I also think it, not to defend him too much here, but it lacks some context. First of all, I would argue that Josh Dix has been a fantastic defender this year, regardless of whether he played in a defense that required in a system that required no defense last year. He has been a reliable perimeter defensive threat, stopping the ball and things like that. The second thing is it lacks the context of not having the 4-time defensive Big East player of the year. So I don't think Creighton was going out and purposefully not recruiting defense, and saying defense doesn't matter. They just, at the same time, while they brought in a new wave of players because they had to, because a lot of them left, they also, one of those players was the greatest defender in school history and in Big East history, with the possible exception of Patrick Ewing. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Emeka Okafor, would he have something to say about this?
I mean, the 4 Big East defensive players of the year speak for themselves.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
different Big East, but sure.
It is a little bit of a different Big East. That's for sure. So I don't know. There's been a conversation about this over the last several weeks of hey, did they just miss a whole bunch in the portal? And I think it also, when you ask that question, it also lacks the context of the circumstances of what has happened this year, not just with Freeman, but injuries across the board. It feels like, especially when you have nights like you did last night, and a week like Creighton's now had with these 3, horrible losses in a row, you feel like, I don't know, it just feels like sort of a season where nothing goes right.
Yeah.
It wasn't that way by design. This team wasn't supposed to be. I thought they were going to lose a lot on defense and they were going to be better on offense. And what's happened over the last 3 games since they've really tanked is the offense has been horrible.
No, I was going to say some of it is when you're so hyper-focused on the defense, you ignore the fact that none of the guys brought in have been better offensively than what they were elsewhere.
Absolutely. And that's so because of a variety of different reasons. It's not just what they are.
Right. And so if you're not getting better offensive performances and you are worse defensively, your margin for winning is almost nil.
Correct.
I mean,
they thought things are so, and they've been like this for the entire year defensively. I remember doing those games in Vegas and thinking, oh my God, what they're doing right now is playing it like Jason Green, 6'8" Jason Green. He's playing a drop 5. He's Ryan Kalkbrenner, right? They're trying to, and that has been their best option for the majority of the year. And credit to him, he is generally held up with the exception of the injury that he's dealing with in that position. I don't know what other ways there were to attack it. You have to do it by scheme because you obviously came to the conclusion that you couldn't defend individually 1 to 5 any better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Some of it is just circumstance.
Some of it is certainly circumstance. And some of it is just, I mean, if you were going to have to outscore people, this kind of goes back to 2025 Nebraska football. If your defense wasn't going to be as good as it was in 24 and 23, the logical conclusion there is your offense needs to be better. Your offense didn't get better. Your margin for success doesn't go up, or your margin for error remains what it is. And you find yourself in this unhappy medium of you're not good enough defensively. You're not forcing enough turnovers. You're not doing this. You're not scoring enough points. You're not going to win a bunch of games.
Texter writes in from the 402.
They both look like 500 teams for that reason.
And I've heard this a lot over the last, over the season as well. Creighton's probably problem with the transfers is that all of them came from programs that weren't winning programs. Well, a bit at the same time, Nebraska's best player is also from the same program.
Right. And the difference is he's been outstanding offensively and turned into a great defender in the system that they run.
So you could do it. Creighton's taken players from programs who didn't win a lot the year before and turned them into successful players.
I've never subscribed to that, whether it was a high school thing or, you hear coaches say you want to get guys from these sort of programs because they know what it takes to
Right.
Okay, that might be true, but sometimes programs are just factories, and it doesn't mean that someone learns how to win. It doesn't mean coming from Buford, Georgia makes you inherently more of a winner.
You learn how to play depending on the system that you're in at the time.
Right.
That's you.
It comes back to what you're
constant
doing.
Survival.
It comes back to what you're doing in the environment you're in now. They might come in with stuff, but it's what matters in the environment that you're in now. Creighton wasn't set up to be successful with their defense largely as it was on paper.
And then
throw in all the injuries,
exactly.
It's certainly not going to be successful.
Right. So it lacks a little bit of context. I do disagree with, I mean, there's a lot of people who have said this over a long time now. I disagree with and I had a long rant about this before. They did not just miss in the transfer portal. This is not a bad collection of individual players. I truly do not believe that. I think you've had some bad things happen to you this year, and I think that it didn't, for whatever reason, gel, and they have to go to work and figure that out.
Well, I think that you said the big thing there. Like, I don't know that the individual talent is off. It's that when they play on the floor, it feels off.
Exactly.
And
so you can't tell me
like
that they
games.
just screwed up everything by the players that identified in the transfer portal. That is not accurate. I don't believe that's accurate. Now, the team as a whole, it didn't, fit or whatever it might be. And they have to go back to work and address that. And Andrew called in earlier and he was like, hey, what's going to happen here? I'm like, I don't know. There's a pretty decent chance that a lot of these faces are back. You're not going to have Graves and Dix next year because they're gone for graduation. Maybe their best option is to try and run it back. And so we'll see what happens in the offseason. There's changes.
Well, there's still what?
For sure.
8 games left on their schedule.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to still feel good. That's for sure. We got to take a quick break and be right back to start the 9 o'clock hour on 1620 The Zone. Wanted to give a shout out here to our good friend Jacob Padilla, who wrote a good story about last night. The tough, very, very difficult day yesterday for Creighton basketball. If you didn't hear the news, Mac sort of confirmed it last night on the postgame show with John that Josh Dix's mother, Kelly, passed away after a 3-year battle with cancer yesterday morning. Josh played in the game last night, and it was a difficult day for everybody who was involved with Creighton basketball, especially in the traveling party yesterday. Josh moved, is at Creighton in part because his mother was sick, to be closer to her. So Max said this last night. I'm really, as happy as you can be that he got to spend, some time with her before she passed. But shout out to Padilla here, because he wrote a good story on herdadsports.com about, it's not about the game. It's sort of about the bigger picture and all that stuff. So I would encourage people to check that out. Before we get to Max Olson from ESPN, this is a
Sigs with Max.
It's a Sigs with Max. We have a Signetti question of the day, of course. I saw this. It's a good topic for him. From Pete Nikos yesterday, inside the NIL negotiations with the 2026 recruiting class. And it's just basically anonymous stories from GMs and people in the recruiting world around college football about some of the things that they have experienced. The quote for me that stood out the most was in the category of absurd amenity requests. So I'll read you this section. Along with being paid monthly before enrollment, amenity requests are common asks. Those include vehicles and air travel for the family, which many programs do not meet. One Big Ten general manager mentioned that a top recruit's parent asked to be paid on the side, which was not granted. Another SEC general manager told On3 that, quote, whoever caved into giving out the first car for free deserves to lose their job. That has not stopped some jaw-dropping requests. Quote, we had a kid ask for a signing bonus, flight stipend, jersey number choice guaranteed, insurance policy, loss of home and disability, vehicle stipend, stipend for rental house, award campaign push, preferred walk-on spot, tickets to home and away games, and field passes for agents, a Big Ten general manager said. And the truth of the matter is, somebody out there is going to meet a lot of these requests or at least agree to it in the moment. And, the players are picking their price out there in the transfer portal.
And this is high school recruiting.
And high school recruiting too.
Some of that though there is also the misperception of what your actual value is.
Oh yeah.
So you'll get guys.
With everybody around you telling you that you're really, really
right.
good. Yeah.
You'll get guys that come in and think, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this rated here and all of it. And then you get the sobering reality of you might not even be the 7th highest guy at the position on the board. You're just being brought in for like an interview, more or less. And you failed it.
People always say like, hey, look, this is not the kids. This is the agents and this is the people who are in charge. And to a certain extent, I think that sentiment is right. But I do wonder.
Some of it is absolutely the kid.
I know. And
not all of it.
That doesn't want to, it doesn't get talked about a lot because we don't like to do that. But I do wonder, I have thought about
like what you would have asked for.
No. I'm thinking about it in a much darker sense. In like 20 years, are we just going to have a bunch of like screwed up, kids who used to be high school recruits and didn't you're
worried about only the high school recruits?
I don't know. I'm worried about a lot.
You start to think about the generation younger than you and the generation younger than it and how you don't understand.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm worried about those kids at the age of 35, like being handed everything in their lives, and now they're out of their $1 million runway that they got when they were entering college. I don't know.
Hopefully there's a good court system for them to be able to go and they never have to leave college. They can just stay in college forever.
That's true. Some people try that.
And we can only hope that happens.
Here's a category: dumbest use of money. In the survey of Power 4 general managers and staffers, On3 asked if there were any players significantly overpaid in the cycle. 7 responses came back with Texas Tech 5-star offensive tackle Felix Ojo. His deal, according to On3, is expected to pay an average of $775,000 a year for 3 years. An SEC general manager said Felix Ojo, Texas Tech paid for measurables over tape every year. We get hit on high-ranked guys who aren't good. If Jackson Cantwell actually got $5 million over 3 years, that's a big risk. Another SEC general manager told On3, quote, Ojo is overrated. When I arrived here, we were recruiting him. I put his tape on and immediately took us off him. He stinks.
It fascinates me. Like we're getting into NFL draft territory where people can say whatever they want because they won't have their name attached to it. And Lamar Jackson,
anonymous coaches say this.
Josh Allen can't play football. He's in here because of measurables.
Yep.
We'll see. Like I am kind of fascinated by you're getting a lot more of naming players than you would otherwise.
That was notable to me.
Like just outwardly say this person's name and then, but of course you can say his name, but you don't want your name said.
Interesting.
Like it's just I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
I don't know I don't know how the general managers get the they don't get the power back or anything, like if that's what this is. I mean, this is not an appropriate avenue to do so. Hey, I think everybody's getting paid too much money and they have ridiculous demands and we're not going to meet them anymore. But somebody else out there is.
You think everyone else is making too much money or have ridiculous demands, but the profession of which you're in is currently a bunch of people that are playing GMs in college are getting paid a lot more money than they ever used to.
Oh, and what's that? There's 150 people on the staff?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Meanwhile, the head coaches are making absurd amounts of guaranteed money where the buyouts will be, potentially crippling should it not go how you want.
Yep.
All to win somewhere between 6 and 10 football games a year if you're not even one of the best teams.
Yeah. Theoretically, you'd like to win close to 10 football games.
Yeah.
You think you can make the playoff, maybe.
10 would maybe get you in the playoff.
Maybe. So speaking of that conversation, we'll continue to have it and a bunch of other topics, including our SIGs with Max Olson from ESPN. That'll be up on the other side on 1620 The Zone. Hey, Rules is here. He says, appreciate you guys keeping it real this AM. Very refreshing. Do we usually not keep it real?
I don't know that we're any different this morning than we have been any other morning.
I don't think so. I think, on a normal level of petty and angry at the world, mad at society.
Mainly angry at old man Richard.
Mad at Richard Bisaccia.
I don't know that. Some of us enjoy him and hope that he has his level of success continuously, but that's a different topic for a different time. This is why I'm always sort of happy when I fall in that, delightful zone of being called a homer and the most pessimistic media member that exists.
Yeah.
So, if I can get both of those in the same segment, I've done my job.
Yeah.
That tells me I'm largely on track to where I want to be.
But you got it, rules. We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it real. Did you see this? Did you hear about this yesterday?
Oh, I always love when you do that.
Dayton Raiola. Remember Dayton Raiola?
Yes, we do.
The younger brother of
Nebraska's
Mr. Dylon.
not going to Dayton, and Dayton isn't coming to Nebraska.
Nebraska is definitely not going to Dayton, and Dayton is definitely not going to Nebraska. I would venture to say that nobody with the last name Raiola will go to Nebraska. Well, I don't know. You never know.
You never know who's got the last name Raiola.
Years down the line. But Dayton Raiola has found his college destination. It is Oregon.
Whoa!
What? But he is going there.
Surely as a left-handed quarterback.
Not as a left-handed quarterback, but as a left-handed tight end.
Wow.
Amazing.
You can't change your hand in which you throw with, but you can change your position. I suppose you can change your hand in which you throw with.
It just may not be as successful.
Right.
Not everybody's Pat Venditti.
Okay, so let me say this about Dayton, because we never really, he got caught up in the Dylan thing and all that stuff. I was actually kind of a fan of Dayton. I like the way he went about his business, and I know he's definitely riding his brother's coattails in the context of he doesn't get these opportunities, if not for his brother, probably. But I always liked Dayton as a football player, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made something out of him at Oregon as a tight end. I'm dead serious.
I feel bad for him in the sense that he genuinely loved Nebraska. Even when his brother was going to Georgia, he loved Nebraska. I think that, the decision was not necessarily his as to how all of this has played out, but I hope the best for him. I don't really know how this is going to translate. He's not a particularly sudden athlete. He's not a particularly built athlete. So tight end feels like an odd position.
He plays bigger than his brother, in
some ways. Yeah. I could see that. I don't know if tight end is going to necessarily.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the right spot for him, but
and then certainly, at a place like Oregon, who's the tight end that they're having that's going to the NFL?
It's his name's Sadiq. Yeah.
He's
going to be like a top 10 pick.
You look at that guy from a physical perspective and what he's able to do, and
freak,
not in the same area code, I guess.
No. However, Dayton will be going into his freshman year next year, and Dylan will be redshirting in theory, going into his junior year. So he'll be a redshirt. So then we're talking about.
Will there ever be a Raiola to Raiola touchdown?
Probably in Memorial Stadium in 2 seasons.
Oh my God.
What? Yeah. What would you place the odds on that right now? The Mike Schaefer Sportsbook. Will there ever be a Raiola to Raiola touchdown?
I think no is minus money.
Definitely.
So,
but how far? In the 3s, in the 2s?
I was thinking 250.
Okay. And then
I always struggle. So here's where the Mike Schaefer Sportsbook struggles.
The Mike Schaefer Sportsbook doesn't know math. Is this
true?
True?
Yes and no, because there's not a ton of consistency with it across this. You see this where a team is a minus 250 favorite to win the game outright. And so you think, okay, there's some good value on this as a money line going the other way, but it's actually only ends up being plus 190.
I know it's stupid.
So I don't understand what the plus aspect of a minus 250 of a Raiola of no to a Raiola touchdown.
Well, I think they're probably just trying to steal money from you.
Well, 100%. Like that's the important thing to know.
Like, have you seen the coin toss odds? The coin toss odds for the Super Bowl, I got
minus 110, minus 110.
I think it's like minus 104, minus 104.
Yeah.
Who would bet on that? Why would you
degenerate?
Why would you do that?
They're throwing it. They're literally going to throw it into.
You're
parlays.
literally losing money every single time.
You got that, the length of the national anthem and the Gatorade.
But the coin toss thing, it's a literal 50-50 proposition.
Right, yeah,
there is no other way it could go, and they're both minus 104. You have to pay into it.
Yeah, you'd think it'd just be plus 100 either way, but it's not.
Let me see if that's actually see. Do they offer that on like reputable gambling sites?
I do not know. We should ask the futures McMaster. He would know this.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. There's just so many options for me right now. But anyway, yeah. So the Mike Schaefer Sportsbook doesn't quite do the presumptive odds.
Well, I don't know how to math it, so it's like more accurate, because I would tell you it'd probably be at least then like plus. To me, a minus 250 should make it like a plus 300.
There you go, I found it. It's minus 104 and minus 104
Yeah.
heads and tails.
Don't bet the coin toss.
Whopper writes in, the math doesn't math, but I would put Dayton Raiola anytime career touchdown at plus 10,000. But against Nebraska, I'd say minus 150.
Yeah.
Just how Husker
exactly.
hell works.
Exactly. So that's got to be a plus 10,000 at Oregon, though, because if it's an anytime career touchdown and he's transferring.
Right. Anytime career as an Oregon Duck touchdown.
Find out.
Yep. I guess we'll see. Speaking of Nebraska, one more thing happened yesterday to them. What was your favorite moment of the Miles Taylor era?
Trying to determine whether he was going to be regarded as an actual coach or an analyst. And then it comes out that not only is he a coach, he was making pretty good money, or would have, at Nebraska.
300 grand?
I think is it fours? Would have had he stayed. He's going to go to Baltimore. You're certainly not going to begrudge anybody that chooses to be an NFL position coach. At this point in time, you don't have to deal with the recruiting a little bit easier, I think, in terms of what you're doing there.
He was formally announced.
Or not easier, but less. You're asked to do less.
On January 16th, which would have been a little under 3 weeks ago. Tomorrow would be 3 weeks since that day. And he left to take a spot on Jesse Minter's outbuilding staff in Baltimore. So he was a guy who came in because he had Orange ties.
Yep.
So I do wonder what they're going to do.
They are going to replace him.
It seems like it.
That's what the sound of it is. They are going to replace him with another position coach. Again, we talked with Sam McEwen about this. They have a lot of coaches, and I don't know exactly how I feel about it. Like,
that'd be a good time to talk about it. I mean,
part of it for me is you can never say, and I felt this about Frost. I felt this, now about Rule. I did not feel this about Riley for different reasons. You cannot say that Matt Rule hasn't been given every opportunity to do what he wants from a financial perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you just look.
He doesn't get a no.
They have a quarterbacks coach. They have a running backs coach. They have a wide receivers coach. They have a tight ends coach. They have an offensive line coach. That's 5. That's every position on offense. They have a defensive line coach, an edge coach, a linebackers coach, an outside linebackers coach, a defensive backs coach, an expected safeties coach, 2 co-coordinators at special teams, Phil Snow, who doesn't have a title,
just a guy,
and 2 coordinators in Arich and in
Dana.
Like, they have a ton of coaches.
So I don't know. I mean, the conversation we were having the other day was like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is there
just a thing?
Is
this something or is this nothing?
But you're right. I mean, clearly one of the things that they've decided to do with their seemingly unlimited resources, even though they are not unlimited resources,
certainly not.
There's just resources being allocated to this compared to other things. I find it interesting that, like you do too, Schaefer, I find it interesting that this is what they have decided like is a non-negotiable. This is one of the things that we have to have. Hey, I want a gigantic staff with 1 million people, and that I feel like is important.
Which is fine if you're all going in the same direction. And that was an issue in 24 where you have a defensive backs coach and a defensive coordinator have different ideas on what defensive backs are supposed to do. So if it's called one way in the defense and the defensive back is coaching it another way, it leads to bus. And that's a problem.
Right.
So if you have everything in lockstep, which is the Matt Rule preferred manner, then I don't know that you have as big of an issue with it.
But doesn't that become difficult the more you bring in? Yeah,
every individual you add has their own element that they're going to bring to this.
Yeah.
That's when Matt Rule talks about that he wants teachers. Yes, but he wants them to teach his version of things. And so if that's not happening, or it should be Rob Orich's version of things, I should say.
Agreed.
So, and it's the same for Dana Holgerson. And Dana was given carte blanche to have any offensive assistant, replaced that he wanted to, and he only chose to bring in Daikiel Shorts at that time. Now they have 2 more. I didn't even mention they have 2 offensive line coaches. So add another coach to that list.
Did you mention Glenn Thomas?
I did.
Okay.
Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end.
People forget about him sometimes.
He does exist.
He does exist.
He was valuable at the Trey Taylor recruitment. I think he's actually a fairly valuable coach over there. We just don't talk about him. He doesn't, I think, want to be talked about. And you defer all quarterback things to Dana Holgerson anyways.
Maybe a little underrated. Here's John on the text line. The issue with all the Nebraska coaches is that Rule has been allowed to hire them. Rule is the one that chose that. John is very, very, earlier we were talking about that whole like sunshine and rainbows yard fence and then like gray and dark yard, angry yard. John has been in the angry yard for a long time now.
Well, look, I think it's fair to be in the angry yard. I don't know that the clouds are going to dissipate anytime soon in that yard.
I don't think so either. Let's take a break. We'll come back, round things out. A couple more things to get to before we get you off to the crossover on 1620 The Zone. But first, a word from Underdog Fantasy. Football's biggest game, as you know, is right around the corner, and you can get in on all the action with Underdog right now in Nebraska. If you're not on Underdog yet, then you are in luck, because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is easy. Head to the app, make picks on if a player will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more for the game. If you get those right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, during this week, there's new promos dropping daily in the app. So if you like making picks and winning money, then Underdog is the place to be for the big game. What are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code HAPPER1620, like everyone should, to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code HAPPER1620. Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 19 plus and present in Nebraska. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing-good-terms_DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. I haven't had a weekly check on the bracketology yet this week. So, I mean, does anybody have any niche brackets? Like, I feel like we always go to Lenardi.
Lenardi is where I go to, but it's because it's usually the most. And I used to go to Jerry Palm a fair amount.
He's not on CBS anymore.
No, but he does his own.
He does his own bracket.
Yeah.
Yes. The bracket matrix has a bunch of them, but Jerry Palm's got his own now. Some of them don't get updated like enough, you know?
Yep.
And so, but maybe once we move closer and closer to March, they'll get updated a little bit more. The TK does a bracket. I keep remembering that we need to talk to him about sort of the process and all that stuff. So we'll call him at some point. But no, I was just looking at Lenardi's because that's the stock answer. Nebraska got dropped to a 3 seed a couple of days ago.
Felt a little aggressive for 2 losses to teams that are, in the top, arguably like 6 in the country, effectively.
So you've had a little bit of more chance to marinate on this after a 0-2 week last week. Do you have any different feelings about, like, are you concerned at all?
No, I'm not. I mean, part of it is, I don't know why you would be concerned in that they lost to 2 teams that are obviously very good. They have 1 win against Illinois. That doesn't get taken away because you lost to them. Now, I will say, as I did after that game, like, I view Illinois differently. And I think it was BC that said this, like, I look at Illinois as like the team in the Big Ten now. That's what that game did for me. Seeing those back to back.
I agree.
Like, I think Illinois is a much scarier team should Nebraska play these guys again, than if they played Michigan again, where I would be fascinated how that would look, because I think Michigan would have an entirely different approach, but I also think Nebraska would have Frager and Mast, and they would challenge them in different ways. I think some of why I don't believe in Michigan as much was they looked lazy, whereas Illinois looked engaged. Michigan looked like they felt like they were going to win that game by 20 points, and then suddenly we're in a dogfight and didn't realize it, and then managed to get through it.
Yeah, Nebraska was not. Nebraska was the aggressor in the Michigan game, and I feel like Illinois dictated the path in the
Other than that, like 3-minute avalanche that they had at the end of the first half, Illinois was largely in control of that game.
Right. And so this is what I've been saying all week. Like, that was the first time that this year I had really seen that.
Yeah.
And so previously I didn't know it was possible, right? I didn't know if it was possible or not. Now, I was under no illusion that they were going to go undefeated or anything like that. But I think for the first time last week, we saw these sort of, just like, oh, that's a human thing that they did there. It wasn't a very like robotic machine-like thing that they have been for the first 21 games of the season so far. And so that put a little bit of a different perspective on it. And then, I think there's still some people who in the back of their head is like, maybe they're not actually like a top 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 team in the country, and they're just a top 20 team in the country who's been playing really well for the first part of the season. So I wonder if that thought starts to move from the back toward the front of your head.
It could. I think that's a little bit dismissive of what they've done.
Yes.
And I think it's a little heavy-handed because I don't know, how many teams in the top 15 also go 0-2 against Michigan and Illinois in the circumstances that Nebraska was
totally
in that week. So like that's a real question. I think it's notable they didn't get blown out in either one of these games. Like, it's not like they got run off the court. It's not like they looked less than in a variety of ways. I mean, I don't know if you saw what Illinois did to Northwestern last night.
40 points.
That's clearly in their bag.
They won by 40.
That's not likely to happen to Nebraska, but they were at one point like 16 of 32 from 3-pointer. So clearly
that's good.
Clearly Illinois can play a little bit. I think the thing that fascinates me about Nebraska,
they went 17 of 38.
The thing that fascinates me about Nebraska going forward is that schedule. Like, everyone wants to talk about Purdue. Those games against Iowa are going to be difficult. That game at UCLA is going to be difficult. The game against USC is going to be difficult. Like, the Big Ten is really deep. Part of what Nebraska did that was so magical is in that 4-game stretch where Michigan, before they played Michigan, they beat a Washington team that looks a lot better right now than what I thought they were when they came into Lincoln. They took care of a Minnesota team that just beat Michigan State. They took care of a Northwestern team that, other than this 40-point loss against Illinois, has been a thorn to other teams. They beat Wisconsin by 30. Like, there's something to it. Now
you could argue on that front that the timing at which they got them in the season
and that's unknowable.
Worked out advantageously for them, right? But like you're saying, you're at the point now where you're in February and you kind of are what you're going to be. Not talking about Nebraska, talking about other teams, right? And so it's either gelled or it hasn't at this point. And so, like you said, from that level, which I have felt like this year, that's been Nebraska's strength. That's been Nebraska's superpower. Like the fact that they're as connected as they are, but other teams have caught up.
Sure.
By this point in the season, other teams have caught up with that. And that's when the other stuff starts to show, the deficiencies start to show.
I also think, like, if we do the conversation of Nebraska caught people before they were gelled, you get to also have the conversation Michigan and Illinois caught Nebraska on their worst week of the season.
Absolutely.
So then, like, which carries more water is impossible to know. So that's why everything matters. It's going forward. That's why this game against Rutgers on Saturday is huge, and I love that it's out there. I think this is the exact sort of junkyard team Nebraska kind of needs to play in the same way that, like, getting Minnesota right after you don't have Braden Frager and you're going to have to play against a team that is tough at home, and you're going to have to play not in an environment that's difficult. Williams Arena, I don't think is an environment, but they play really well up there, as evidenced by just beating Michigan State. I think was Wisconsin. They beat at home earlier this year with Minnesota. So I just think, like, sometimes the circumstance of who you catch in your next game can be really helpful. And I think having to go to the Rutgers on the East Coast for an 11 a.m. tip where you can't just sleepwalk through it and you're going to have to show up is probably valuable for a team that is not thrilled about how the last week went.
Yeah. I'm not worried about them not. You're right. I'm not worried, but I'm not worried about that with this team. The thing that I continue to be worried, like it's been just the factor throughout the entire season for me, is just their not their game to game ceiling, but their like median ceiling, if you know what I mean, compared to
Do we know what that is
teams.
though?
Not exactly. No, not exactly.
But I think,
I have a feeling that it's lower than some of the teams that they want to be mentioned in the same neighborhood as.
I think that's in large part because their expected ceiling is lower, and so you have to
That's true. Yeah.
You have to sort of marry where your expectation of, and people. I was high on this team coming in, thinking they were a tournament team. I never thought that we would have a real discussion that they're a top 10 team. Whether they are or not, they have the opportunity to prove over the next handful of weeks here. And, we'll get to have the referendum conversation in the Purdue game of, if they win this, they're definitely this.
Yeah.
And if they lose, they're frauds.
Yeah.
And
it will get louder at that point. I don't think that they're frauds. I don't like that.
Losing to the preseason number one, or, it doesn't make you frauds.
I don't think that's really on the table.
Right. I'm saying there's a certain element of people that exist that want to do that.
They will say that.
I'm just fascinated by how this is all going to go. The other thing that we've seen with this team is there's different portions of the season that have been carried by different players. And one of the things that we haven't really discussed, because you don't really know how to discuss it, is when do we see and will we see the version of Rink Mass that helped them beat Kansas State, hit the critical shot against Michigan State, was huge in that first Illinois game.
That carried him for the first portion of the season.
Like, he hasn't been as good. Some of that is he didn't play a lot of minutes when you're kicking the crap out of Oregon and you're trying to rest him up and all of that other. But when he has played, I think it was like a 20% 3-point shooter right now in his last 7-8 games.
Let me check. Yeah.
So, like, it hasn't been particularly good. So, that's a big part of that conversation, because what he does for you when he's on the court matters, but you also need him to be effective for it to get the biggest value out of it. Sanford's ascension comes at the same time that Mast has dipped. So we haven't really seen it where you have Sanford going off for 20 and you also have Rink Mast as a really efficient scorer.
6 of his last 33 from 3.
Yeah.
I don't know what that percentage is. 6 of his last 33.
A little less than 1/5, so that's like 18%.
Dating back to the Ohio State game.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's clearly not,
right. And so then,
but it's interesting. Like he's got most of his production from like 4 Supernova games this year.
Yeah.
Like he had a 6 of 13 from 3 against Michigan State, 7 of 10 against Winthrop, and 5 of 7 against Oklahoma. And did I say 6 of 13 against Michigan State? Other than that, he has not made more than 3 threes in a single game.
Right. Which I don't know that you expect him to, because he had that game against Ohio State a couple years ago where he hit 7.
Right.
And I don't know that you expect that, but I think having him as a like legitimate threat, and if he's going well, and you mix that with Sanford, and you mix that with Frager, and you mix that with Jamarcus Lawrence, like it's a totally different picture.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so that's where their ceiling elevates. You know,
I would expect him to return to form.
And then the other thing that I'm curious about is you don't have this Illinois team, like you don't have this Michigan team. I kind of expect Nebraska's defense to be sort of where it was and what they were doing to teams and just putting them in a blender, doing that again right away when they're in Piscataway.
The Blender Boys. Yeah, they still
not the worst nickname that they could have.
They still have the ability to pick apart teams who don't know what they're doing, and Rutgers most certainly does not know what they're doing. So
I don't.
I mean, it's not that it's not that they're not talented or good or whatever. Like I don't sense when I watch them, I don't sense like a sense of direction with them.
That is fair,
right? And those are the teams that they've made absolute fools out of this year.
They're the big windsock thing in a car lot that's just whooshing everywhere.
Oh, wacky, wavy, inflatable arms, man.
Yes,
exactly. All right, that will do it for us today. We'll have more Nebraska ball talk tomorrow as we get you prepared for the weekend. Don't forget, if you missed anything, hit the 15-second one. 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. We had a fun show today. Check it all out there. And the crossover is coming up next.